get on it forward up to Four Corners, to get home. And there's always deer or elk, or I'm always afraid those buffalo are gonna get out of that guy's buffalo farm, so.
Yeah. Rob's gonna be a little late today.
He just walked by.
Good morning, it's 8:31. We are here with Tom Gaines for our weekly update for Administrative Director of Central Services.
Thank you, Cindy. Good morning, Commissioners. So I did see Rob just walk by, so I'm sure he'll be in here any moment. On consent, Central Services has 2 items. Permission to utilize owned property on Randolph Road to build a new coroner's office. If approved, I'll email MLSD to inform them that we'll resend our previous offers, which apparently they never accepted anyway, to purchase the property off of Yonezawa. And again, I'll remind the board that we'd already done a site study on this for the jail, so we already know a lot about the site. And I've already spoken with the city, and the city stated that we're good to go. They will ask us to petition for annexation of that property so that we can hook up to the sewer and water that are there. But I think there's opportunity for us to take care of the coroner's office there and then still work with the port too, if they want to work with us on something there. So the other item on consent is out-of-state travel to attend the NACO annual conference in March with Commissioner Jones. It would be a great opportunity for us to go and meet with our legislators and our congressmen, and I can do my Veteran Military Services Committee stuff that I do with NACO and see everything that's coming down the pike that affects counties across the country and in Washington State. I think it's a good opportunity.
That's for March.
I sent the latest round of names for the NACO to NACO for the leadership course. It takes care of the rest of the GCTS step. Good morning. I sent the latest round of names for the NACO leadership course to NACO. It takes the rest of the GCTS staff through the cyber leadership training, which is suitable for everybody in the department there. For the high performance leadership, I had Decorah, Amanda, Chris Turner, Jim McKiernan, Jeff Hughes. Kevin Burgess said he'd wanted to go. I'll confirm it with him. I can always change these names if I have to. Phil Coates and Kirk Eslinger. And that's not all at the same time. Those are staggered.
And I would like to.
Oh, and you, I'm sorry. I will get your name added to there. I'm sorry. So 6 billings are a lot of the billing is gonna go straight to us. Anybody associated with Central Services we're taking care of. But 6 billings will go directly to other departments.
And Tom, we have money in our budget for training, so you may want to.
Yeah.
Use our training budget. It is money that was set aside in 2024 for a salary survey and for training. So
whatever happened with the salary survey?
It's still on.
Inching forward.
Inching
forward.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw an RFP that maybe, but I don't know if it actually went out.
I'll send the spreadsheet. I did send it to Rob earlier this morning, the spreadsheet of all the different people and the times they were going. He's going through the course, so he's really familiar with it. And Rob, I'd welcome your feedback on that. If I tried to break them up into different cohort groups throughout the year, so not everybody was together, but any thoughts you have on that would be appreciated. For Central Services, we had an inmate get stuck in the jail elevator on Thanksgiving Day. We don't have all the details. He wasn't hurt, but we're gonna have a decent bill from Otis Elevator for bringing a mechanic out on Thanksgiving Day. At least he lives in Moses Lake, so he wasn't far away. But he did have to come out and service the elevator to get the inmate out.
How long was he in the elevator?
A couple hours.
By himself or with it?
By himself, as far as I know.
Okay.
But there's a camera and a telecom in there, or an intercom. So we'll get more about that as the day goes on, I'm sure. Maintenance is down 1 person as Michael's last day was Friday. And you'll see a new landscaper starting next week. Umberto from Pacific Security has been hired to be our new landscaper. So you'll see some changes in the security group too. I've got an entire week of paperwork and be buried behind my computer pretty much all week. I'm completing the DAHP grant so we can get that paid back yet this year. Working on submittals for the jail, bid documents for the CSHR office, the energy grant through WASAC, procurement policy updates to name a few. And I had a couple of questions about this week's agenda. If I can ask, on Thursday, there's a BOCC Greater Project Team Monthly Check-in. What is that?
That is for the,
It's the ERP software.
Oh,
check-in.
okay, okay. I wasn't sure. Danny, on Thursday, you're attending you're on the agenda for Afraid of Ford, Thursday at 11:30. Ray Towery has asked me now twice why I'm not going to that. Do you want me to attend that, or does the board want me to attend that? Does it matter much?
You may find it more beneficial than I do.
Yeah.
I kinda. I mean, part of the discussion with them is, it used to be called Revitalize Ephrata.
Yeah.
And there was discussion among the group is, well, what are you talking about? We have a Walmart, we have this, we have that. And I think the original idea was that they needed to revitalize downtown core. But there's a lot of people in the community that think, well, it's pretty tough with being a floodplain and, and maybe we should be moving in a different direction. So they've kind of changed the name to,
Afraid of Ford.
what are we thinking as we move forward with this town? And obviously Central Services is part of that. I would invite you to come.
Anything from the other two commissioners on that?
No, I think the only benefit I see is with you going is relationships.
Yeah.
I don't think the actual thing you'll probably find much in, but the relationships and meeting people might benefit you.
All right. Thursday morning at 9:00, I have a meeting with the PUD regarding, it's our monthly development check-in at the track. I'm sure the land issue is gonna come up. I don't know what's going on there, but did you guys have a good lunch with the PUD commissioners last week? Was there anything, was it good or?
Nothing was brought
we
up
typically don't
about
bring
it.
up,
Yeah.
some of the.
Yeah,
like,
that's some of
executive
the, I didn't know.
session meetings.
Well, I didn't know if there was anything else, so, but I do need to set up another meeting to discuss some of the other stuff that we discussed during executive session. I've got not some concerns, but just to revisit some of that stuff.
Another executive session
Yeah.
with the same participants or
No,
us?
just us.
Okay.
Just us,
It
yeah.
seemed like we have something. There's a meeting today or tomorrow. Oh, that was public defense, anticipated executive session.
Yeah. Yeah, if we could do it later on this week or something, if we could get it on the schedule, or next week, it's not that critical. Some things I think we need to put into our calculus with all of that.
Caitlin, can you jot down a note on that Tom would like to get an executive session, say about a half hour with us next week?
If you want to do it on Monday at 3 p.m., there's a half an hour there between the Public Works update and the Commissioner's work session.
We could do it Monday during my 15 minute.
Okay. We do it then.
Okay.
Or you can do it right before our anticipated
Yeah.
executive session. If it's more than 15 minutes, you should take the half hour at, what time? 3:30?
It would be at 3, from 3 to 3:30.
Just let us know later in the week.
Yeah.
Or let Caitlin know.
All right, we'll do. Other than that, that's my update this week, and like I said, I'll be parked behind my computer most of the week, so any questions?
So on the Randolph property, you've talked to Craig and Craig is okay with that?
Craig is actually the one that brought it to me,
Okay.
So
Okay, good.
it was one of those positions that was kind of hanging out there for a while. It's still close, and he feels comfortable that it's close enough to Moses Lake. And the email and the consent item that I sent to the board was also CC'd to him. Didn't hear anything from him on it, so no objections from him.
Rob, as a matter of courtesy, Cindy as well, do we need to mention this to the port, because they had asked us about that property. We need to, just say, we have decided to move, before we do it, that we are in the midst of making a decision to move forward with this property that you had talked to us about.
Richard.
I can reach out if you want. There was an email exchange that went back and forth with Barb Vasquez and the port as we talked. I had a question about, the question came up about who owned the property across the street. And the port direct, I can't remember who it was. I'll have to look back at the email.
It was Richard.
Was it Richard? Yeah, had said, we want to buy that property, but
We had it appraised and
how many years down the road are they looking to do that?
I think we had it appraised recently in the last couple of years.
No, I mean the port and that project that they want it for. I'm thinking that's a 25-year plan.
I'm not talking about asking their permission.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about notification to saying, the property that we considered for the jail, we're finding it as the best property for our new morgue. And we just wanted to let you know that that's what we're gonna move forward and do. It's a
Yeah.
courtesy statement because they had asked us about it.
Well, and I would add to that though, because if you look at that grandiose plan that they had healthcare facilities included in that. So it's like, well, if that's a 10.9 acre parcel, if we end up using 2 acres of it or 2.5 acres, you could still, you just have to move your plan around a little bit. Nothing is in concrete. So there's still plenty of opportunity and we would fit into one of those areas that you have. You just have to change it up a little bit. So I don't think it by any means kills what their ideas are. I think it provides them actually opportunity to have some of it locked in, so.
I am okay with Tom going ahead and communicating
Reaching out
that
to Richard.
to them.
Okay.
Rob,
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
I think it's a courtesy,
Yeah,
but doesn't change what we have a right to do with that
Yeah.
property.
no, 100%, I understand.
Hey, they may have a parcel that's even better for us.
I've asked, I've kind of beat the bushes on this, so. Other than that, any other questions for central services?
I would do that in the next 24 hours because we're gonna make a decision on it
I'll
tomorrow
do
at
it this
consent.
morning. I'll do it this morning.
Okay.
So. Okay,
Thanks, Tom.
you bet.
Thank you. It's 8:44. We are in recess until 8:45.
This is looking nice.
Be safe.
No.
Feel free to sit on the other side of the table so you can see if somebody's coming after you.
Welcome back, Jim. It's great to see you.
Thank you.
You had a good trip?
Yes, it was fantastic.
Feel like a little kid at the big kids.
Oh, lift up the chair, lift up the
little
chair.
handle right
Maybe
there.
lower that one.
It raises up and down.
Commissioners, you have one call-in user.
Hey, good morning. It is 8:45. We are here with Development Services for our weekly update. And just a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be on YouTube at a later date. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Hope everybody had a great holiday. The only thing we have to brief the Commissioners on was that letter that Commissioner Stone, you did send an inquiry on it, the BIAW letter that was sent to the world on Friday. Or I'm sorry, to be on Wednesday, about the energy code.
Okay, I'm trying to.
Yeah, anyway, this
refresh
was
my
sent
brain on
to,
it.
it was sent to all code officials, it was sent to all Board of County Commissioners. I received like 13 copies from various, so it's.
Oh, and they were like, hey, we need to figure this is not good or.
Yeah, the Vice President, General Counsel of BIAW sent it out representing 8,000 businesses in Washington home building industry. This was the initiative 2066, which was the the bill for natural gas parity with,
Okay, my mind is catching up with you.
so it basically says that, you know, code officials have no authority to go against the will of the voters by ignoring that certain sections of the Washington State Energy Code are preempted by Initiative 2066. So it's a little nebulous on where the legal counsel's coming from because, yes, natural gas, the initiative passed. The only thing I can assume without doing further research that I haven't had time yet is because the letter does talk about table 406 of the energy code. So I'm assuming it's called energy equalization credits, which means if you're proposing a combustion furnace currently, you get 0 points out of the gate. But if you choose electric, you get 3 credits. And you have to get a total of 8 to be compliant with the state energy code. Very, very difficult to get 8 credits. So it's beneficial it forces you to choose electric resistant heat, you know, to get that 3 because then
Which
you only
is
have.
kind of what this initiative was about, is to not discourage the
Right.
use of natural gas.
Right. So I think what the letter's saying is that we can allow 3 credits equivalency if somebody picks a combustion heating equipment. That's what I'm assuming. So then they come out of the gate equal, right? Which would certainly help. But the problem is we have about 10% of our customers use natural gas, the rest are propane. We're not sure where that falls because propane is also considered the fossil fuel that was included with natural gas. So did the initiative, I have some of my team members doing some research on it, but the way the bill was really crafted, it doesn't specifically, the letter specifically mentions natural gas, but not propane. So at the end of the day, it's really not going to be beneficial to too many of our customers because most of them are propane as of right now, until we do a little bit more research.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Don't natural gas and propane have kind of the same source and the same manufacturing process?
Yes. Well, the propane's a derivative of petroleum oil. Natural gas is natural, comes out of the ground, similar to methane. But they're refined, both refined, and both are fossil fuels. So they're the same but yet different because one is just refined from oil.
I didn't know that. Kind of thought that maybe propane was natural gas stuck in a can.
No.
You know what I mean?
It's actually refined.
Huh.
But again, from a building official lens, I treat them, if it's a fossil fuel, it doesn't matter whether it's butane, compressed natural gas, propane, right? They're all the same because they're fossil fuels.
Mhm.
So I would like, you know, again, we'll do the research and I would like this thing to shake out as, because I certainly don't want to have
3 credits for
Right.
natural gas.
Right.
I would think that was the intention of the group.
I think so.
Put it forward, but, and are you saying that we might go that route and see how it shakes out in the end?
Yeah, again, I'm gonna reach out to some of the other colleagues. We're gonna have a global discussion on this tomorrow with the building side. Again, I tasked them with some research on Wednesday when this thing came across. Put the puzzle together. Again, it was rather nebulous the way it was worded, so I'm assuming that's the intent. And then we'll brief you.
Did you receive it or did I get it to you?
I received it directly
Okay.
and received it through the commissioners.
Okay, so the reason that I felt compelled to send it to you is because at this county leadership conference, I believe this is where I heard about. It just seemed to me like the state was gonna try to do everything to work around this initiative and still put their thumb on natural gas. well, if we do this, they won't be able to sell it. Even though we're not discouraging it, but we do this to the to the manufacturers, then, it's just like, there was games being played, I thought, and I thought, well, I'd like to figure out how to game their game. If they're gonna, I mean, gosh, 20 years ago, we were all trying to get everybody to go to natural gas because it was clean. Well, now all of a sudden it's become an anathema of some sort.
Right.
But, I just think it's really,
And
Pretty
I'm
good.
appreciative of this because, again, the county leadership conference, I attended the Washington Association of Planning Directors, blah, 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 ABM, and there were some senators present. And of course, the energy code topic came up. We spoke a little bit about it during the lead summit, the challenges, and this is a big deal. We can't, my opinion is we can't survive another code change cycle with another 3 energy credits because our customers can't get there now. And at the end of the day, nothing happens, right? If you at the end of the day build your house and say, well, I don't know what to do, I can't get there, right?
Well,
Do
what
I
would
tell them
you
they
do?
can't live in their house?
But the permit won't go through if they don't have the 3 energy credit or whatever the energy credits that are needed.
Well, see, and here's where it gets very cumbersome for the regulators, right, which is us, is here's my 8 energy credits that I'm picking to get their permit. Then during development, I couldn't get a tier 3 water heater because they're 6 months back ordered. So they get a regular 50-gallon. But I pinky swear promise that I'll put a tier 3 in once they become available. So do I say, well, you're not gonna occupy your house until you get your tier 3 water system, which is ridiculous, put a regular water heater in there and get your certificate of occupancy. I can't go back 6 months later and knock on their door and say, I'm here to check and see if you got your tier 3 water heater. Right, so it's not a compliance issue, it's a supply and demand issue.
But isn't it the code they're supposed to have it? But if they don't, I guess are we the regulatory agency as well? So if they don't get it, are we not issuing a permit? We have to accept it when the building permit is presented to us. That's
Yeah,
the
they have
plan.
to declare the credits
Uh-huh.
in order to receive their building permit, which is on paper, right? So the energy credits are built into the structure. Some of them are energy efficient envelopes, very high, very expensive windows, right, to reduce the fenestration capability of heat.
Yeah, I think they have to
There's
be
a-
3.
Yeah, 3 is the default, but you can get a credit
triple
for
pane,
1.5 U factor. Oh,
Three
these are,
is
triple
expensive.
pane?
oh, yeah. Yeah. But the problem is that, and even at the golf tournament, when we're talking about these window manufacturers at the tee boxes, I says, how quick can I get a 1.5 window? We don't make them yet. But yet it's a credit option.
Uh-huh.
So the people pick the credit going, I guess this is what I'll do, but then when they're under construction, they can't get the window, they can't get the water heater, they can't get the furnace, they can't get the heat pump. So what do? Either construction stops or they have to keep building with what's available. And at the end of the day, when we go out and issue the final inspection for the certificate of occupancy, we go through that credit checklist and say, you're 3 credits short because you didn't put this, and this in there. And they go, well, we can't get it. It's out of stock, right? And I'm not gonna be that guy that says, well, you're not gonna occupy your house.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, if they're in violation of the energy code, who enforces that? State Building Code Council's supposed to, not
Okay.
us. We're the permitting issuing agency, right, and the compliance agency. So it's very, very, again, that's the thing, they pass a law and say, here, county and cities do this for us. But
They
at the-
regulate.
But at the end of the day, I can't really, I don't have a hammer to enforce it.
Well, there must be appliances because somebody was waiting months for a refrigerator. So they just bought one, stuck it in. It's like, but don't worry, this isn't the refrigerator we get to use. We have to wait for this other one that's been on back order for 6-9 months. Okay.
I
Well,
mean, we've heard horror stories of developers that rotate appliances from one house to the next
just to check the
just to
box.
check boxes, you know, finish that inspection, take that appliance and move it to the next house.
It just seems ridiculous.
It is ridiculous because that checklist that Chris is speaking of gets posted at the job site to certify the home, so to speak, at occupancy. Just to, it literally check boxes. Yeah.
So again, I'm glad this came out because, you know, I sent a position paper that I'll share tomorrow with the board of what we need to get out in front of this, because one more energy code cycle.
Nobody's gonna be building any homes.
Yeah, it's an extra $30,000 to do what, right? And I'll share the statute with you, you know, that's mentioned in this, which is, you know, part of our strategy, because I don't think we're a climate zone 5. Buffalo, New York's a climate zone 5. Did anybody see the Bills game last night?
Why didn't?
Well, there was 60 inches of snow there and it was snow, right? And it never
And we're at
stops.
climate zone 5.
Yeah, we're the exact same as Buffalo, New York. And I'm like, there's a reason I live here and not in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, they're hard.
Because we're not a climate zone 5. So, you know, my strategy in trying to get the other eastern Washington counties would be to, let's have our own climate study, because I know we're a 3. We're not even a 4. There might be parts, you know, in the higher elevations we're a 4, but 3 would reduce our energy credits and our energy envelope substantially and save a tremendous amount of money.
Well, how do we go about doing that study?
I'm on it.
Okay.
So
You'd be a rock
that's
star.
something that we really need to have a discussion about. So, and
Well, I have an Eastern Washington Council of Government meeting this week, and I could mention this possibility, or have you get online with us and share what we need to do to have that kind of a study.
love to.
Well, that's good news.
I can't do this on my own, and I'm trying to get partnerships to help. The IAW hasn't reached out yet, but I'm sure based on this letter, they'll be on board. Because we can't stop it at the state level, we should stop it at the local level.
Reducing impact. Okay, it's 8:59. We are in recess until 9 o'clock. Like when you're,
And I'm all discombobulated with the table, not the right way.
it's a little safety factor, so you can see. You just coming and going.
I think that was a good idea.
Our risk manager approved it.
Really? Good job.
Well, good morning. It is 9 o'clock. We are here with Kirk Essinger for our Director of Organizational Services update this morning. Welcome.
Good
And this
morning.
meeting is recorded and will be available on YouTube.
Thank you. Because I can take my hat off. Now I'm gonna put my hat back on. That light's too bright this morning, sorry. So big news, breaking news is I broke my laptop, shattered the screen, don't know how. So
You didn't drop it or anything?
I closed it with a snap, but it wasn't like I stomped on it, but it just hit right and shattered. So luckily we have a backup I could borrow, and then I'm going to be getting a quote on a new one because I'm kind of mobile.
So our tech services people can, with a broken screen, even though they'll be able to get into it and pull off all your stuff and
Well,
go to a different one
the vast majority I keep on the drive, so.
on the OneDrive.
Correct. Yeah, I just would have some files I was working on when it happened, and if I could get those, that'd be great, but otherwise I can recreate them, just a little detour today to figure out tech and all of that, so. Transition for Tyler, I think is going to go well. I think that Felicity is a go-getter and she's gonna be good to work with. When my laptop got broken last week, we were just finishing up the data stuff, so fingers crossed, we've finally gotten in front of that that piece, and then we just continue on, and then we'll be visiting with Decor on what she wants to do with recruitment. But I think that she's still in a wait and see, that if they can come through with the most recent promises and the energy, that it's worth it to have all that connectivity, but she'll have to make that choice ultimately.
This, on Thursday, the greater project team monthly check-in, that's one that it'd be good for us to be in that one.
Correct, yes, that's the one that should be on your calendar, and not others. Now, what I don't know, and you guys will have to tell me, is part of the confusion that Holly, is sending those appointments to your individual emails instead of to BOCC at, and would it be better if she did that so that staff would publish them
Part
for
of the
you?
confusion was, it was like there was a weekly one that was coming in and it was throwing us off as to, is this the one that's the monthly one or is this the, I mean,
Yeah.
there was some confusion
Yeah.
there.
The
As
word
long as she
greater
sends it,
is the clue.
okay, as long as she's sending us to our BOCC and our staff is getting it on, then I'll
Okay.
recognize it, but of course, this is probably the December one and
Well, you know,
my
May
last,
I say something really quick? The one that's on your calendar for this Thursday does say monthly check-in. I don't have one on the BOCC calendar that is a weekly one. So the only one that staff put on there is the monthly one. So the other one must be going to your personal calendar.
yep, so if you have something else on there, you can delete that.
okay,
Or join if you
Thank you,
really are
Mark.
excited.
when you gonna get another laptop?
Well, I just sent the email right now, so.
I wonder if they've got one hanging out.
I think.
Well, I have- There was, no, I grabbed the one that I used to have, it was as an extra in HR. So I have one I'm functioning with right now. Just need to-
I mean, that there's just so many laptops coming through that they might have one
Could
in the
be,
box
yeah.
up there.
Yep, they might, we'll see. Since I have no notes or no nothing, I'm a little discombobulated this morning. The split schedule that I did before the holiday appeared to work well for keeping me balanced, so I'm gonna try and continue that for a while. And so as a reminder, in case you didn't look at that, starting to work at home, come here, work for at least half a day or more, then kind of see where I go from there and finish up at home so I don't get stuck anyplace. But that appeared to not send me into fits. And then I did finally get to visit with my ENT, and she has referred me on to a neurologist, saying that basically things are going fine, but the neurologist is the one who can determine what the best long-term medication is for keeping things status quo. But things have been better the last 2 weeks, so, which is good, other than I go places incognito to save my eyes. Other than that, we're fine. Anything you have for me? The guy with no notes, so can't remember what he was gonna talk about?
No, it's good that Felicity is jumping in to,
Smart,
with that transition.
she's smart, she's good, she's collaborative, she's all many positive things.
I did have a question on the training. We have a training budget for 2024, 2025, the training and the salary survey. Tom has a list of 8 to 10 people to do the training. NACO, would that be an opportunity to use that training budget for that? Okay,
Absolutely.
because I think some of the departments don't have the training set in, and so I don't want to exclude those that want to do the training because they didn't put it in their budget.
Absolutely, and Tom and I have been chatting, so we'll keep chatting that direction. I'll make sure he knows that.
There might be some other departments interested as well.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
available.
it just sounds like a real good opportunity if we can get some excitement going on that.
In fact, he said that you were considering doing it as
Mhm.
well, so that'll be a
Yep, I think Decora's signed up and I am so. And Decora's back today, yay. That'll be good. Hopefully she got lots of rest, but
I don't know, I think she was still working.
we didn't pull her in too much, so maybe she hid from us. I don't know, but. So, good morning, Rob.
Hello.
By the way, you guys, Susie's meeting is canceled today at 11.
Okay, please note that Susie, the 11 o'clock to 11:25 meeting is canceled.
Okay.
I'm looking through stuff for this week, just seeing if there's anything that I automatically jumps out. Go, oh, we need Kirk's input on this.
If I may give input, Board of Equalization, Kirk requested that I ask the DOR for a extension to the Board of Equalization audit, and I've not heard back from them as of yet.
So if anyone goes to prison, it will be me, Barb. I'll surrender myself.
When was the information?
Thank you.
Deadline
It was for the 27th
of November or December?
of November, yes,
Okay.
yeah. And so sent an email identifying that the person who's there at the time has gone, the supervisory change. You know, basically, we can throw data at you, but if you want it to be correct, you might want to give us a little time to do this. I've never had anyone not say, go
No,
ahead.
they'd rather have it correct than just.
Yeah, they want to know there's attention, so.
I don't have anything
Nope, I
else.
think that's it. Well, if you have nothing for me, then I will toddle on and check in with Decora
well,
and
good luck
check in
finding
with
your computer.
technology and I like this. This is a good solution to try anyway.
Thanks, Kirk.
Yeah, all right.
Good seeing you.
Okay, it's 9:09. We are in recess until 9:30 when we meet with the board.
Trying to find a flight and it's well over $1,600 to come home at Christmas. Ay, caramba. He may not be coming home.
Sir, good morning. It's 9:30. We are here with Barb for the board. Sorry I was late. I was trying to get that white stuff off our table. I think I'm 90% off in our lunchroom. Morning, Barb.
Good morning. First on the agenda is the pending decision spreadsheet. I did email this all to you last week. There's a hard copy for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like we should start at the bottom, move our way up. Museum property. We did not have a chance to meet with the Historical Society on that. I did let them know on their budget, just FYI, since we're talking about them, that it was cut. He would like to, maybe if we could kick it to 165. He's gonna cut back a few hours for some of the employees and that would work better for him. I told him I would push it or bring it forward to you.
Where do we land?
I thought it was 152 or 155, whatever the amount was. I had called them right after our meeting. For salary. That was just for wages.
Yeah, and what did he want us to do?
Well, it's gonna be hard, but if we can maybe do 165, because he could cut everybody 2 hours. If he would cut everybody 2 hours, and then that would kind of how to work out. So if you can have a staff
Yeah,
of
I just,
4 or 6
somewhere in this
people.
mess of papers is there it is. Here's my notes on. I just have a total of settled at 175,000.
That was for wages or, that was just for wages or for the whole budget?
I thought it was the whole budget.
Okay. I think it was 152. 152 or 155 for the salary. And then we should have a breakdown on the whatever the cost is for the museum, because maybe less than that, because they've removed a lot of things. Okay,
Well, let me just ask you about that real quickly. If we did it at 175 and he's asking for 165 for salaries, then that would leave him $10,000 for repairs and maintenance and advertising. Because we took the interfund insurance service off there, didn't we?
I don't think so.
Oh, so the 175 would include the interfund insurance?
I just don't recall taking the insurance out.
Okay, that clarifies a little bit for me.
And again, there were 4 or 6 people that would be there, so it was just cutting their hours by, some of them by 2 hours, which would help, but he was gonna mess around with some numbers.
Is she gonna come in and talk to us before our
Well,
final?
I think sometimes it is what it is, the budget, he will be, if we move it up, or he can make whatever work. Well,
So anyway, on the short plat, we just still need to have a meeting with them about adjusting the lease if they would want to do that. But we haven't really decided whether we want to move forward to try that. Cause
I don't think we'd be able to get it done for this year because the sale's in January.
correct. The issue would be, what does the short plat cost? And that would have to be we have to set a minimum on this property with that included.
We usually do the short lot, it's between 8 and 10,000, 8,500 and 10. I think the surveyor charges about 8, and then your fees,
So
probably goes to 10.
So if we are willing to do that, then the discussion should happen with the museum about, we are considering doing this. Would you be willing to give up your lease on that part of the property? But it's kind of hard to move forward if we don't really have a desire to do it. If we don't want to help out the church that's come to us. And the fact is, somebody else may buy it.
Hmm.
May not be the church that gets it. And I just think we need to decide, are we interested in moving forward? Because if we're not, we just need to tell, we're not gonna release that property. We're not gonna put it into a surplus it.
Do you wanna make that decision now?
Well, and I'm wondering, this probably should be a decision since you probably wait for Kevin, because Kevin will be living with it, the other commissioner. 2025.
I'd rather discuss it with Public Works and Tom Gaines to make sure there is no use that we would have. You can't buy property downtown, so we need to make sure that we don't want to think of that for any use in the future before we would sell it. So
we have an update with Public Works today. I would suggest that we bring it up to have them consider it today. And then mention to Tom as well, that the idea and say, we'd like to know. So at least we get that far before the new year and then you guys can make a decision on it come the new year, but I just don't wanna leave it hanging there just for forever. We owe them a response of some sort.
Do you want to invite Tom to the 2:00 Public Works meeting? Would that be helpful?
I'll send them an email with the parcel so they can look at it,
Okay.
and then we can go from there.
Why don't you copy Tom on that or send it to both of them? Thank you.
Okay.
Do we know where, sorry, are you ready to move on?
Yep.
Do we know where we're at as far as the risk coordinator? Did you guys look over the job description and think it was good,
Yes.
Rob?
Yeah.
And so what's the next move? Is HR gonna post it? What are we gonna do there?
I hope so. I don't know if they posted, I don't think it's posted. If you're waiting to hear from us.
So tomorrow at 1, we need to find out that. You remind us on that when we meet with HR.
I'll make a little note. Well, do we have salary for it? I don't know if we need to make sure we have a salary for it. That's probably what the holdup is. We haven't talked about any salary increases or adjustments.
Well, I'm not asking you to make a decision on that today, but where are you guys leaning on that? It seems like we were pretty serious
Well, I think
about
we're
hiring a
moving
risk
forward.
coordinator.
Yeah, we just don't have a budget for it.
Well, I know, I'm asking, are you leaning toward making sure we include that in our salary?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I am too, I think. Rob?
Yeah.
So that's pretty good consensus to have that talked
Yeah,
about it, you
I
know,
don't know if
this afternoon.
If we're all in agreement.
So that is one position management thing we want to assure is in the 2025 budget.
Okay, safety committee plan, risk coordinator, that'll kind of follow the same thing.
Yeah.
Work release, building. Feel like we're in the works with some of our partners.
I think that Tom asked us this morning for another executive session that might include that. So I think that's coming next week.
Okay, and ADA access to the museum. I think we talk about it, but we don't. We do a connected path. At the museum. We'll bring that up with Public Works because they do paths and trails. On their agenda there. Small and attractive items. I think we mentioned it to Mandy last week, but I don't know where it's gone. Superior Court office space. Bonnie Helvey request to amend the county code. I think we were gonna visit with the sheriff. What's going on with that one?
That's the one I presented to the board, the City of Moses Lake ordinance that they passed, and you were going to review it to see if you wanted to incorporate it in Grant County.
That doesn't have anything to do with the puppies though.
Well, I was tying it all in together.
You sent us that.
Well, thank you for sending that.
Yes, thank you.
More to come on that, travel policy, that's done, we're just waiting to get it posted. Family dentistry, Tom is working on that. We should have something here shortly. And coordinated entry, 5-year plan. Received and fully signed contract. So if we have the plan, can we take that out or, oh, is it signed and done? I have a 12
what?
update. The coordinated entry 5-year plan to end homelessness.
No, it's not done.
Well, it says, 3/4 fully received fully signed contract.
That was March 4th, 3/4.
Okay.
Yeah, all the stuff is done, but no, Brittany leaving, we were going to update the 5-year plan together without hiring someone.
Okay.
But her leaving is kind of obviously leaving a hole for that. And probably going to do a consultant now, but we have to do RFP to get the consultant. So that's kind of where that's at. I've just been trying to decide if I want to run that and host town meetings on my own for homelessness, which personally I don't want to. So I'll probably push for the consultant again.
And they they went to the town hall meetings?
They want town hall meetings hosted for this 5-year plan, yeah.
Oh,
New
okay.
state
'Cause before
requirements.
New state, because I'm like, before we didn't do that.
That's why it's been held on, because they didn't
Okay.
release the updates to the 5-year plan requirements until probably like in the last 3 to 4 weeks at the most. Early November.
Okay. Okay, so more to come on that.
Okay, next on my agenda is new incident claims received. I've been trying to get a working plan here on how to manage this, so I'm working on that. The current, I think you already know about this, is the one at the sand dunes where a person got hurt out at the sand dunes, not wearing a helmet on their ATV. So I'm working with the insurance. I had to provide them maps, who owns the property where out at the sand dunes. So Mike helped me get that together, so.
I never heard about this one.
You hear about that one? A group of people were not wearing helmets at the sand dunes, and a child got injured and had to be life flighted out.
When?
This was on September 28th.
Wow.
We just
Concerned
received
about
the
Alzheimer's.
tort claim on November 12th. We received it at the county. So I'm working
We saw,
with
when did the tort claim come in?
November 12th.
And it was forwarded to us.
I don't know. This is when I first took that over, so I very well could have, maybe I didn't.
And who would have sent it, you?
Me.
November 12th.
Me or Caitlin, maybe Caitlin back then, I'm not sure. The last name is Hollingworth. So that is one.
I got one on the 13th,
Yeah, Gonzalez.
Gonzalez one. Is that it?
That's another one that came in. That is now spread off. So that's the one where one of the county vehicles was involved. And now it's went from 1 claim to 4. So there's passengers in the cars now who has claims against the county. So giving you a heads up on that.
Is that the accident with the development services vehicle
Yes,
that we're
it's
replacing today in consent?
yes, it was totaled.
Yeah, if you could forward that one on the first one you just mentioned,
Hollingsworth.
Sand Dunes one.
Okay, yep. Okay.
That's a bummer. We know how that child is doing?
He's doing okay. The child is doing okay.
How old is he? He or she?
I think 10 or 11.
I don't think they're supposed to be on it.
No, I'm talking about the one for development services. That
Oh.
one.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the Sand Dunes,
I think under 10.
and they're doing
They're
okay.
doing okay. Sorry, 2 different things.
Yeah, I don't see that one. But I'm just trying to look for tort claim.
Yep, and that'll happen as I try to learn my new role here, so your patience is appreciated.
So on the development services vehicle, started out with one claim
Yeah,
and we're up to 4.
correct.
Everybody sore now?
Yeah.
Stupid. I don't know anything about the sand dunes one. I would love to know
Yeah.
an update on that because I can only imagine
I will forward that to you.
if that becomes a thing, then the county's in a hole.
We're gonna close that down.
You're gonna gate it and you're gonna put hours of operation.
Well, but I believe you have to be 14 or 16 to ride a.
But who's enforcing that?
And then no helmet. You have to wear a helmet. I mean, there's a couple things, I think, the liability.
Yeah, which they would say you should have someone there enforcing those laws. And that's where we'd fall liable, so,
1%. Yeah.
just stupid.
Okay. I'm gonna push it over to Caitlin. Caitlin's going to show you what she has done with the commissioner's minutes and the links to YouTube. Caitlin, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
So this is on like in the agenda center when you go to the, sorry, need to make this, there we go. When you go to the consent agenda now and the minutes are on consent, the names of the meetings are in blue. And so when you click on it, it'll take you to like that actual meeting. So like this one, I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. I don't know if you can hear my screen, but you can see it just takes you to that meeting now. And I've done it for all of the meetings that are held. We had a couple technical difficulties with one of the weeks, so a couple of the meetings weren't recorded, but it's put in the minutes that it was not recorded. And then I also went through, just because I was feeling funky that day, I went through and I also hyperlinked for all of the public hearing, this one, for each file. I've put a link to that one because I know that some of those were hot topics. So now people can just go right to the file there.
So Caitlin, at the top of the minutes, is that where you tell people that the blue highlighted ones will show the Zoom?
Yeah, you click on the meeting name to view the recording of that meeting.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I accidentally did that last night and there I was looking at the hearing and I went, oh, what happened here? But that's great.
There you go.
Well, impressive. Thank you, Caitlin.
Caitlin, would it be wise to put, where do people, show us where you get to our minutes. Can you do that again? Let's say I'm Joe Blow, public, and I come and I wanna find our minutes. Where are they posted?
McHenryWaugh.com.
Okay, minutes. Is that where we're at right now? That's Agenda Center.
Did we lose her?
Just go under elected office.
Okay. 2024.
There's all your weekly minutes.
Uh-huh. Okay. Go to one that's got recordings. You know what I'm wondering? I am wondering if on the place where it says minutes, You might add the word and Zoom recordings.
I don't know that you'll be able to get to the recordings with this one because it's in Laserfiche. And so in Laserfiche, it saves it as a TIFF and not as a PDF. So I don't know if these minutes are on here yet. I'll have to look after the minutes get loaded because I think the first week of the hyperlinked minutes is on the agenda for this week. So after we get it approved and it goes into Laserfiche, I'll go in there and look and see if you can access these hyperlinks. But I'm not sure if you'll be able to get to it through the Laserfiche portal. The only way to get to it might be through this consent agenda.
And that consent agenda will be on, that consent agenda is on there perpetually for a long time?
Yeah, for a long time, yeah. And that's just the agendas and minutes, but
So that will have to remain, for what, 6 months?
Correct.
So the consent agenda okay. So,
but then after 6 months also, we can take them down off of the YouTube page if we wanted to, right?
Correct, and then get them to the state archives.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if I'm Joe Blow coming in and I want to find the Zoom recordings, whether I would be able to figure it out, that's how I can get to it.
Liz, I'm trying to open up one. I'm just clicking it to see. It says the host has another meeting in progress, so not letting me open it, but we'll see. It's right there. Kind of
Might
exciting.
want to put that on that facing page that comes up with it, with the somewhere.
Caitlin, otherwise you just Google in YouTube Grant County meeting and then put the date.
Yes, it should come up that way.
That would be the easiest.
Thanks, Caitlin. Great job.
Thank you, Caitlin. This just made me think, Cindy, are your microphones plugged in right now?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Is it be closer?
Yeah, I would have both of them. It was difficult to hear you in the first half of the morning, even though it is the first half, if we can just have your microphones when you guys talk into them. For some reason, your spot right there does not like these things up here.
And then, Barb, do you want me to ask my question now?
Go for it.
Okay, great. I actually have two questions now. Isn't this funny? So I guess I'll do the quick one first. Nance Beston from the Columbia Basin Herald is requesting a copy of the 2025 budget that will be adopted today. I had emailed Mandy to ask for that because I only have the preliminary one and I know it's very different. And Mandy had responded and said that she wanted to wait until it was the official adopted version. And so my question is, how do I respond? Do I tell Nance Beston to wait, or do we have to provide that since it's an open record public hearing?
I believe you can provide the preliminary, but I don't believe we're gonna adopt the budget today because we have the component of the salaries, the PMRT questions, so it will not be adopted today, is my understanding. We will schedule another meeting, visit with HR, so they can have the preliminary budget.
Okay.
But if Mandy doesn't want to release it, but I believe it's a public right, Mandy would know the topic on that, if a preliminary is actually is a working draft, so I don't know if that's releasable.
Okay. And then the other thing is that I got an email from Rochelle, Cooley Creative. I had sent over the contract last Wednesday for them to review, and she emailed me back this morning saying that she would like to discuss the compensation structure outlined in the contract. I would assume that means the marketing thing, the 15%. She said, would it be beneficial to discuss this before the tourism meeting to allow time for preparation, or should we address it during the meeting as planned? How would the commissioners recommend proceeding?
Was the tourism board aware of the reduction of the 15%?
No.
Okay, I really think it should go to the tourism board first, and if they're pushing for it, but I would like to get their thoughts on it. I know we're the fiduciary responsibility, but typically that's why we have a board to make recommendations.
So the tourism commission, is it commission, committee?
It's a committee.
Tourism Advisory Committee, whatever it is, they saw the budget as well, correct?
Yes. So everybody saw the agenda and the contract. I forwarded that to the entire tourism committee for their review before the meeting this Wednesday. And then Rochelle just reached out this morning to me, and she did CC Amanda, the chair, in this, and because she wants to discuss the compensation.
And the tourism committee, they have not had a chance to discuss this contract as a group, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I think they should discuss the contract themselves.
Before coming to us, I think we superseded our reach if we make a decision without the advisory board or committee.
Rob?
I think they should see the recommendations made by us through their budget.
As far as the contract goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we did it for holding them accountable to the same standard we hold our own employees accountable to. I don't see an issue with what we did, but they need to probably see it before we need to have a meeting with
Discuss it.
them.
Because in my mind, it would be the chair of the tourism commission that would want to bring this discussion before us if there was an issue. And if the person they've hired, basically, brought on to assist them, didn't want to do it for that kind of funding, then find somebody else.
So Caitlin, I believe the answer is yes.
The answer is no.
Well, we don't need to meet. I think visit with the tourism advisory committee first.
Okay. Thank you.
I just wanna, I think I wanna reinterpret what I think Cindy said, that your response to Rochelle should be that go ahead and have a discussion about it with the tourism committee, right?
Well, and the tourism committee may not be in favor of it. I don't know what their thoughts are. I think it seems the norm but anyway, I would like it to go through the committee and then it can come back to us for further discussion if they're in opposition of it.
Okay.
Okay. Next on my agenda, Danny, close your ears. It's about your going away party. Emily made a really nice flyer. The question is budget, since this is a commissioner here. What would Cindy and Rob like to do for budget, for food, for all of that fun stuff? So I am reaching out to you for your recommendations.
Do you mean by office budget?
No, we can't use office, so it'll have to be
So
your.
typically, like, when Richard left, we were gonna go out to dinner in Spokane, but we had COVID, so that was shut down. Tom opted not to have a going away party. Carol Ann, we had one, so we just gonna bring cookies or whatever.
So we moved the date to December 18th, because in my mind, no one was going to be working on December 31st. So if we wanted it just to be a few people,
Do we have any lemonade upstairs?
I would have to look.
Or just potluck it? People can bring cookies or something if they want.
So would you guys like to sign up for something?
Sure, I can bring
I mean, are
cookies.
you doing a lunch or are you doing like everyone in the courthouse coming through?
I was gonna invite all Grant County and all
Yeah,
the
that's a lot
boards,
different than like
all the boards he sits on, unless that's not what the board intended.
I mean,
Well,
I,
I think it's kind of up to Danny, what Danny would like. I mean, I hate to say it, but usually you kind of plan your own party, you know, it's like
What
some
we've
have
done in the
wanted some
past
things.
is
Just
and-
thinking
invite
some
all
juice
Grant
and
County.
coffee and some cookies, you know what I mean? Just some refreshments.
or whatever you need to make it how you envision it, you let me know, I'll give you money.
Is that how we want to go? We just
For
plan.
me,
and
that's what
ask
I'll
you for
say.
money?
I'd like to do a lunch with staff and Danny, just us, but as far as this, if you want $1,500 for cookies or whatever, just let me know how much.
Wanna make cookies?
You can make cookies. Well, Danny, what would you like? Typically, like I said, some have opted for a party, some have opted.
Well, I'm okay with the gathering and a little party, but I just don't want it to be expensive or anything. Just some cookies are fine and drinks.
Cookies and drinks?
Well, starting on the cookie crawl. I don't know if we're having a cookie crawl.
That's the next day on the 19th after his.
Oh, so maybe, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just simple.
'Cause I'm gonna
Okay,
invite
French
all the-
fries.
We can
for
coordinate
everybody.
on the 19th, the day of the 19th. Just have our cookies here right at the,
We could do both at the same time. What would the board like to do?
Danny, what would you like to do?
What day is the 19th, Thursday? I would say do it that day,
Do it the day of the crawl.
yeah. Then we could do a lunch. And
His
people
party's
wouldn't,
at 12,
you know,
it starts, so we could always start it from 1 to 3 instead of noon to 3
just doing lunch at noon,
for us here. Okay.
I'm good with that.
You,
We had chosen the 18th because Danny has the SEPTI recommendation workshop from 10 to 4 that day, on the 19th, sorry.
Oh my gosh,
Okay.
not gonna be at your
Thank
own
you,
lunch, that's too bad.
But if you wanna do a lunch, we could just do the party from 1 to 2 or something, have a lunch upstairs and then have some down here for a
Excuse
little
me.
bit.
still on
If you wanna do a lunch.
18th's fine,
Okay, so lunch.
I'm free the 18th, right?
I believe all of you were, that's what I
EDC
hope
board
anyway.
meeting at 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
Cindy's got a 9 AM WCRG fiscal committee call. That's all. I have a net 11 o'clock.
I still that back.
County commissioners with Square Source.
I'm on there. Okay, so we'll do 1 to 3 instead. And then BOCC lunch. 12 to 1. We can get it all set.
You have a lunch request, Danny, you want tacos or pizza?
And don't put the pizza directly on the table. I've almost got all the white off,
Just a little
because
box.
my fingers were.
Probably tacos.
Board of Equalization update, we kind of went over that earlier. We have placed an email with the Department of Revenue so that we could ask for an extension. Speaking of budget, so you mentioned, Cindy, that you probably won't adopt the budget today, which means the RCW specifically states the hearing today may be continued from day to day until concluded, but not to exceed a total of 5 days. So what time tomorrow, just so you can look at your calendars, would you recommend that we continue it to tomorrow? Something to think about so that when you get ready to do that motion to continue it.
Looks like 4 PM.
It looks like 4 PM. Okay, so that's just something to think about.
Is
that really gonna give us time to,
Well, we needed to meet with Decorah to figure out, unless we put a lump sum in for the salaries and not make a decision on the new positions.
yeah, is that
And are
possible?
we okay with, I guess, transferring?
Is that possible to do it that way?
We can.
The only reason I brought it up is in 4 o'clock tomorrow seems pretty quick to make the turnaround, and I'm okay with,
Well, I think we just have to keep extending until we figure out how we wanna.
yeah, cause I'm available also on Wednesday. And,
Maybe we can hash it out today. Are you, everybody okay taking, what are we, 3.8 million out of reserve plus the 3 million from the 114 account?
I don't like the 3 million out of the 114. I'm not honestly overly confident in our budgeting, how it's gone this year at all. I don't feel like anyone has a full grasp on the budget this year. And our meetings, it's just everybody talking, saying opinions, nobody really on the same page. My opinion is if a number doesn't make sense to the whole table, then it probably doesn't make sense because numbers are pretty easy. So I don't know how we
We could
do
just,
this.
on that transfer, instead of do the 3 million, we can go 1.5 million.
I don't have an issue with 2 million because 1 million from 24, 1 million from 25. I just go in 3 million. Then next year, we're gonna be committed to 3 million. And then we're gonna be in a problem.
So we can make that decision at today's building or meeting and not extend it. And then just put $400,000 or $500,000, whatever we need, 1 million, yeah.
The other issue that we have, in my opinion, is we have an accounting office that continually tells these other departments that the commissioners have tons of money. So then they keep increasing positions and stuff where they don't necessarily maybe need to because we have so much money. We have so much money, we don't know what to do with it. It's kind of what I always get told. And the sheriffs say that, they get told that we have tons of money too. So we need to figure out how to change the messaging going out as well. When you're pulling from reserves and pulling out of a tax account, it's not sustainable unless we don't ever fill all the empty positions.
Well, it's easier to not fill than to go back the next year and cut, because it's very painful to cut positions. So we could adopt it today. It's just there was discussion about meeting with HR first. So yes, we can reschedule for 4 o'clock, it sounds like, Barb, to, if we don't adopt the budget today, we can reschedule for 4 o'clock tomorrow.
So
I
you'll
would like
make
to
that.
add to 4 o'clock tomorrow, just so that we have the option and it's advertised far enough in advance.
And we don't need, luckily, we don't need advertisement since we're continuing a
Okay.
hearing, we just announce it at that meeting.
so is it possible that we can do the tax levies and setting the assessment rates? We can get that taken care of today.
Yes, and as a reminder, so Dave Bren will read his resolution ordinance into the record. I will read the one for current expense, and then someone can read the one for noxious weed. So we could get that taken care of today.
So those are separate motions.
Yes.
Public works tax levies, current expense tax levies, assessment rates for noxious weed,
Correct.
and a fourth one would be the budget adoption. But we can continue the budget adoption until the next day.
Correct.
Or 2 days later.
Correct.
Okay.
Do we have the noxious weed one?
Yes. They met with you earlier this year. They're meeting the same rates that they did from last year. And I believe that's on the website under upcoming public hearings, if you would like to see all that information.
I see it right here.
I think it's a good idea to kind of have in our mind that we can continue the budget till 4 o'clock tomorrow, and then we could even continue to the next day if we have to. But we have to have good discussion on these
But
numbers.
Decora's asked that we wait on the
Yeah,
employees, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys will have that in your mind there. Commissioner's Office travel training budget. I emailed this to you last week as well. So some of the changes that we've made, public records stayed the same, veteran services stayed the same. I amended the spreadsheet to include Cindy's Japan trip and Rob's NACO trip. From the out-of-state travel, that'll be on the consent for today. So I just kind of threw numbers out there, which makes the commissioners between the three of you, or Kevin, 13,100. So if you would like to change something on there, that is what and we removed Carrie's 2,500 as well.
So this is a good time to discuss this, that conversing with Kevin, he is willing and would like to involve himself in LSC and in Columbia River Caucus. And so if that's approved by you guys, then when we look at the $4,000, I think the WASAC number was for the actual conference.
And some travel between the both, it was like 1,500 per commissioner.
Okay, what I'm asking is, you didn't figure in LSC and that kind
No,
of stuff into
No,
that?
that was the miscellaneous.
So that's the miscellaneous, so
Yes.
if he doesn't have somebody to stay with like I did when I went over to LSC, he would need a little bit of, hotel.
Does LSC reimburse, does WASAC reimburse for that? They may do
They
travel.
reimburse for the travel.
Okay, just not the hotel.
Do not believe they reimburse for the hotels.
I could look into that if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be good, just to refresh you
Mhm.
on for the new commissioner. And I do think that, is there any funding left at all for travel and whatever for us? Because he would like to go over to the new elected officials training
In January, but yes,
in December.
Yes.
In December, and do we have some that we could, is it possible to even allow him to use that or what?
I believe you can, but we can't reimburse until January.
because I know
Because
we
it's-
we're reimbursing you for your plane ticket, and then Caitlin's travel stuff was approved, so that cut into the travel training budget too. So I think
2024?
for 2024.
Mandy would be a good one to ask, if she's coming in, but I know we can pay for his training. WASAC will bill us, we can pay for that. There was just a question
I think the training
of,
was free.
The training is free, it'll be
Okay.
his hotel
there
and
was just
travel.
a part that we have to approve it, cause typically we don't approve other employees, but he actually he's on some of our boards already, so he is considered an employee. But that would be a Mandy question if we wait, cause
Yeah, I found the newly elected official training good.
I think he needs to go. I just don't know how we go about it. If we wait till January till it's an employee, but ask Mandy, Mandy would be able to confirm.
Sure.
If we could pay this year or reimburse, put it on the credit card.
So we have to give Mandy a number.
All that to say, I'm saying that he might need this 4,000, don't know, to do some of that miscellaneous travel. He won't need the 4,000, but if there's any miscellaneous travel that the three commissioners have, I would settle in here at 20 grand on a budget. I would recommend that for our training
I have
Okay, this is what, training or training and travel both?
both together.
Yeah, training and travel. And you just said something that grabbed my curiosity is that you've got $1,900 here for Cindy's travel to Japan, but you just said you were taking it out of 2024.
Yes, cause it's approved, you approved her to buy her ticket,
Yeah,
so she's got reimbursement
But we
for
also
her
put it
ticket.
in, it was also in 2024 budget, but it was 133 account, but we moved it to 114 account. No, 113. No, miscellaneous general government. Cause I don't believe that travel comes directly out of our office.
I'm just wondering why do we have Japan CC on this budget for 1,900 when we were already paying for it this
25.
year?
So we can take it out.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think the plane ticket was like 1,000 and then the other would be,
Yeah, so the whole out-of-state travel that you put submitted was 1,900.
okay.
So you're right, part of that was gonna be done this year,
Yeah, I
and then the other part will be next year.
So you can drop 1,000 off that if
Yep.
the ticket was taken care of, then keep the
Well, no,
900.
I haven't paid yet, so I'm assuming it's coming out of the 2024 budget. I don't know where it's at.
That's for the next meeting.
What is it?
But yes, take it out.
MAC. So
Oh,
take the 1,000
The
out, leave
1,000
the
out.
900 in.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can go at 19,000 for our budget.
And Danny, I'm still considering doing LSC for this year.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Well,
That
somebody's-
means that we should
You're
vote
still
on
gonna
it.
need, the same thing applies. If you do LSC,
I know, I'm just trying to decide, it takes a ton of time. I know that if it was me, I wouldn't have wanted to do that my first year. But it is important to be involved in it.
so I got this here, put 19,000 to put, so I can give it to Emily and to Mandy. So that we can get those in the numbers for the board. Okay, one of the discussions, we're running short here. That the board had, and it caused us some good discussion up between Caitlin and I. So the whole liquor and cannabis board recommendation, when I see that come on the agenda, in my mind, I'm thinking you're approving or denying the recommendation that's coming with it, not the document. So the board has gone both ways in the last couple of months, so we need to
I
decide.
think the first one, we approved it as the denial was recommended. But the actual thing that's coming before us, we're just receiving a recommendation on what we should do with
Right.
that from Development Services. And so in my mind, I settled on, we need to deny that request from the WCB to approve.
Okay, and I think that's where the confusion was, is that in others' minds, it was, are you approving the recommendation from Development Services or you're approving the
See,
document?
We're the legislative group.
Right,
We need to decide whether we're approving that application from
document,
the LCB or not.
okay.
That's why I
understand
say
what
we
you're
deny it.
saying, so
Don't approve
when
it.
number 12 is actually a denial, so we're gonna approve the denial of it. So when we approve.
No, that's the opposite of what I'm saying.
Recommendation.
Their recommendation, it's just Development Services recommending that we stick with our moratorium, so
Mhm.
we have to not approve that request.
So it has nothing to do with the recommendation, it's the document only.
The document
See,
comes
in
before
my
us,
mind,
looking for an approval, and we are saying, no, we don't approve this. We're gonna go with their recommendation to deny, and we're gonna deny it.
Okay.
So that we don't approve it on the vote. It's becomes one thing that gets thrown out, we don't approve.
yeah, and I think on today's recommendation from, we need to just word it. It's not, you're not approving or denying the recommendation, you're approving or denying the document. See where the confusion has
Yes.
been gotten? So is that what the board, Cindy and Rob too, that's the way?
That's how I understood it.
Okay.
Well, I understood it
The other
the
way.
other way as
Yeah.
well, because we're following the recommendation that's been out here, and maybe it could be the recommendation of denial.
That would,
Anyway,
in
so we
my
just need to
mind,
be crystal clear.
if Tom Gaines, if for instance, somebody brought before us something like from TS and they were asking for they were asking to purchase something. And Tom Gaines found out later that we don't need it. He would come in and go, hey, I recommend you deny number 22 because they don't need that one anymore. And so we deny it. That's the same thing as development services saying, hey, we recommend you deny this because you're in a moratorium.
Unless we put, like, by adopting this, it would be following the recommendation of the planning department and it would be denied. I think it's just a wording on it, but we'll just be crystal clear on it, the application, we'll talk at the application, not the
Around the
recommendation.
recommendation, and I was thinking the recommendation. I only have one more minute, real quick. I've reached out to Sheriff Crete to see if he wants to add a 15-minute meeting starting in January, so he would be here at 8:15, as was discussed last week, but I have not heard back. So I'll let you know if you're gonna start at 8:15 next year. I've sent you numerous emails. Discussion was held last week with Daryl and the board about the 1% funding for misdemeanor offenses. And so I went and gathered contracts for the board to review. Apparently you guys requested this. Do you recall that from Daryl? So I've sent you a lot of emails. I don't know what the board would like me to do, and so I'm sure you have to talk about it with Daryl. How do you want the funding to go? Does that sound familiar? Ugh. Something to do.
We took over, we captured the city's funding portion of it. We kept it to do law and justice, the jail. But right now, we are spending far more than the money that this agreement that we haven't even signed for I don't know how many years. So Daryl would I think he just wants us to look at that and go, hey, give the city back their portion and then charge them what the cost is to incarcerate and prosecute. I think it's just the incarceration. Don't just do this agreement that we get like 1.4 million to take care of everybody's incarcerations. See,
Yeah, he believes that the would be a lot more if they paid.
I think it would be a lot more, it would be the actual cost of it.
So that's all that. If you would like me to schedule a meeting after you review it, let me know. Rob, the whole where you could not print last week, I put in a ticket. They just need to know when a good time for them to come down and work with you to get in your computer. And Cindy, I think you said yours wasn't working
Mine isn't
100%.
working like up to our office printer.
Okay.
The only one I can print is from my cell phone to that one. That's the only.
It prints half the time.
Do you want me to keep the ticket? Do you want to
I
work with
don't
them
know.
today?
I don't know how you fix half the time. Like I printed 5 or 6, but then I have like 5 that aren't printing, so.
When I,
Do you have a cord we can just plug in and print?
We would have to, I need to schedule a time with them for the two of you if you would like. Do you want that today, tomorrow?
Yeah, today we can.
one of the,
We can do print for my office.
for me, if I'm tied into the VPN, you cannot print there. If you're on Wi-Fi, you can print there, that's mine. And I have a separate BOCC hearing room printer on my list of printers. Do you have a separate one on your computer for that?
Yeah, I would just like to use the one upstairs. I'm fine just using the one. I can't even print documents.
You can
from
print
my
it up
computer.
there from here
No,
when you bring your laptop down?
no. The only thing I can print in this whole entire office is from this phone, so I have to email and then print it. I can't print anything in the upstairs, even on my laptop.
You need to have TS come and help you.
No, I-
That printer needs paper, Barb.
Is it? Okay. We'll bring some paper down.
Yes, no, I'm kind of in a print, I cannot print anything.
So I just need the both of you to be here at the same time when I get them to come down. Do you have
I
a?
think mine is just a paper
Thank you very
issue.
much.
Okay.
I select fax and I hit fax and it prints.
Oh, there you go.
Well, maybe TS can
There's
help.
lots of paper over here. We just gotta put it in.
Oh, you're right. Well, we'll do
We're
that.
good. You can do it after this.
Okay, and the
Barb,
last
one
thing.
question I have on this travel
Yes.
is why would we not just do the NACO training out of 24's budget?
That's what I think was discussed this morning.
Okay, Tom had emailed me, I just asked him too, so.
Oh, you know what? We talked with Kirk earlier today. And
I was putting that
The
NACO
NACO
Lido shirt.
the
leadership
NACO,
one.
we're gonna take out of the training budget, the 2 million.
Well, that would be for people that get approved after, but to go to the actual conference, I'm already planning to buy my ticket now.
Oh, this is the conference, the
Yeah,
NACO
this,
conference.
the NACO conference
Oh, okay.
would be a office thing, not a.
Alright.
Okay, and last but not least, when Jerry left, there was 3 hearings that we needed to see if the BTA wanted to reconvene for. They've worked with the assessor's office and the assessor is gonna correct the property errors through a manifest error correction. So you'll be seeing that come through your agenda in the future. So the Board of Equalization does not need to reconvene. And that is it, unless you have something for me.
Thank you, Barb.
The paper that you put in, was it the hold paper on the side or was it normal paper?
Was it called?
Yeah, there was a bunch of hold paper. There's no holes on the side. Okay.
But let me check. Okay, we're in recess until 10:30.
It's okay, it has holes, Barb.
No, it doesn't have.
I got a folder.
Say that one more time.
I said it's okay, it has holes.
Hold?
Oh, thank you.
I have no idea where the pause play thing is.
I got you, Barb.
And
You're welcome. It's already 10:30, so.
we see it on the opposite. Well, it looks like we've got BT's presentation.
Hey, good morning. It's 11:32. We are here with MAC Technology, MAC Communications for a technology discussion. Welcome.
Morning.
And this meeting is recorded and will be on YouTube at a later date.
Okay. Who's gonna be forwarding the slides for me?
It's me. I'm online. I have your slides. Don't worry.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
We'll begin.
All right, nice to meet all of you. So Garrett would have been with us today, he's the RIT manager, he's out sick today, so it's just me. But we are excited to present on the technology at MAC. We do get probably, I'm not exaggerating, I think when we get about 1 or 2 calls per week from other agencies around the country asking us about what we're doing. So we're pretty excited about it. So next slide. So just real quick, we're just gonna cover the why we're doing the technology that we're doing and then what technology we're doing. It's not gonna be a deep dive, kind of an overall. If you have any questions, there'll be time, should be time at the end. I just have like 5 slides or 10 slides, I think, so it's not too onerous in that sense. All right, next slide. So those are kind of the 3 main reasons why we're implementing technology. And they're all kind of interrelated. For example, if we don't have staffing, then we can't provide the service, right? If we don't have staffing, we don't have resiliency. If someone's out sick and it requires, backfill and we don't have the backfill, then that causes a problem. So they're kind of interrelated, but staffing is a big one. So I want to specifically cover that in a little bit more detail than some of the other topics. So next slide, please.
Hey, DT, can I ask a question in the middle of this?
Sure.
Okay, so you are, in my mind, Mac is totally technology. What do you mean we're implementing technology? Are you saying you're going to something new? Or what are you?
So it is technology heavy industry, 911 industry, but there's kind of what's considered legacy technology. So we'll get into this a little bit more, but there are some newer technologies that have just come out in the last few years that are kind of game changers, allow us to kind of pivot in the sense that you could continue just with kind of the same technology you've had. But so we're kind of taking the other path with the newer
So
technology.
you're explaining this new path.
Yeah, we'll explain the new
Talk
path.
about the new path. Okay, because I was going, wait, they're already.
Yes. Technology has always been a huge piece, but it's called Next Gen 911, if you've ever heard that term, but basically a transition from the older legacy technology to newer technologies. And a lot of that means IP-based or internet-based. So if you look at the slide here, I won't necessarily read it for you, but staffing crisis is huge in the 911 industry. It's kind of big overall, but it's always been big in 911. It was 20% before the pandemic, and now we're at about 30% turnover, annual turnover. So it's, everyone's gotten worse, I think, after the pandemic, but we haven't recovered and it's been pretty bad. And this is across the country. And you see the stats for the 4 years that I've been here at MAC, we gained a net 8 out of 27. And just the training with the technology or with the complexity of the job, it just takes 6 to 8 months. That kind of creeps up over time. But that's just what it takes now, today. 911 dispatchers routinely ranked among some of the most stressful jobs. And also, obviously everyone understands that police and firefighting is also stressful, but we do have dispatchers who do firefighting on the side. We do have one dispatcher already left to become law enforcement, another dispatcher who will be leaving soon to be law enforcement. So whatever it is about the stresses of the job, you can have, in my opinion, kind of a one-way flow from 911 to firefighter, police, or just leaving, public safety altogether. But we don't see the flow the other way. We don't see officers coming to dispatch to, take a break or whatever, firefighters. It's kind of a one-way flow. But we're still short now, but we're doing okay now, but staffing is always an issue. In fact, today I have a monthly staffing crisis summit with around the state to discuss staffing in 911. It's a monthly meeting that just directors from around the state meet to discuss it. So it's a big deal. That's why I want to stress that here just right off the bat. So next slide, please. So to address the staffing crisis, that was the first why. And so reducing the workload, and not necessarily for the workload of the dispatchers, though that is my second point there, is to reduce the burnout, the job burnout, but really to kind of use technology as a force multiplier. So for example, as the county doubles in size, because Grant County is growing, as it doubles in size, we don't necessarily need double the staffing. So we can keep that, because that's our biggest expense and most difficult commodity is staffing. And so if we can decouple that a little bit, so more population and whatnot doesn't mean more staffing necessarily. And then reduce the multitasking and increase the candidate pool. There's two parts to that. So to become a dispatcher, it's superhuman level of multitasking. It's not just multitasking within the same task. I used to be a paramedic, and I feel that is multitasking within the same task. This patient's heart attack, I'm multitasking, doing a lot of things, but it's all for that. Dispatch is what I'd call three-dimensional or four-dimensional multitasking, where you might be multitasking about completely unrelated things. You might have a heart attack on the line, and you might also be talking to an officer on the radio, and you might also be talking to one of your partners about something that they're dealing with. So it's three completely separate things that all require multitasking. And so if we can use technology to reduce the multitasking, that opens up my candidate pool, because I can hire people. There might be extremely intelligent people, extremely capable people out there, but what usually gets people is they can't multitask, or they can multitask, but only, 2D multitasking, and they can't make it to the level of multitasking. That's what will wash out a lot of people in the programs. Our training program is multitasking. So if we can reduce that amount of multitasking, I just opened up the pool to a lot more people out there. And on top of that, I think having some of the newer technology will help attract people. I've gone to some of the conference or some of the job fairs where, dispatchers there along with the police department and the fire department. You have, the shiny fancy truck, and you have a canine crew, and you have a bomb squad, and there we are sitting there, and we're not very attractive in public safety. But I think if we can kind of cater to the maybe a modern video game crowd with our technology, that might help us also attract more people with the better technology. And then this opens up options. The technology, which I'll talk about later, opens up options for us with interagency collaboration, which is using if we have a cloud native solution where it doesn't require, you can just log into it like on the internet, that could open up with other centers. We've been talking to other centers to try to get that going to where maybe we can collaborate. In fact, the two nearest centers to us, Rivercom, which is in Wenatchee or Douglas County, and then Kitcom, which is in Ellensburg, they both have the same unions. And so if we could use our same people, that would be a pretty simple solution. But again, we have to have a technology piece to make that work. And then even remote dispatchers, we've talked about that. That's a whole separate presentation. But what we do is already remote, if you think about it. We're in a room talking on the phone. It's telecommunications. And so it opens up possibilities for remote dispatchers. For example, if we had a 20-year dispatcher who moved, just relocated with their family, we could potentially keep them, just give them a remote work kit and potentially keep them and not lose that staffing. Opens up a lot of other possibilities. And then reducing the training time. And we'll get to that with kind of the AI, artificial intelligence. But if we can get the training time down from 6 to 8 months, that also helps us get more people through the pipeline quicker. So it kind of all works together. And I'm just going over very briefly. Any of these things could be a separate topic on its own. Next slide, please. So then increasing resiliency. So the old model was like your servers in the back room, which we still have some of those. But as we move things to the cloud, to the Microsoft Azure and the AWS, Amazon AWS, we all of a sudden leverage the capability of trillion-dollar companies to provide our security, and instead of Garrett, who's out sick today, providing our security. And so I mean, he still has a lot of work to do, but it opens up options to leverage those giant tools, that the federal government uses, that everyone uses. Lower maintenance, again, we don't have those servers. Less dependency on supply chains. We know during COVID, there were supply chain issues. When you wanted to order a new server, you couldn't get one. If you had a problem with the server, you couldn't get one. And so, when the next COVID hits or whatnot, whatever the next pandemic is, we won't be reliant on the supply chains because we don't have the equipment on our back room. And I'll give you a quick analogy, and it's actually a pretty apt analogy. So it'd be like Netflix. So the old model was your DVD player in your house, which is our servers in the back room. And anytime you want to replace a movie, you have to take out the DVD, stop it, shut everything down, put a new DVD in. And then the host remote is another model. And that's where somebody else has the server, but they put like a very long, extension cord to your house, a very long HDMI cord to your house, and you watch the movie that way. So you don't have to deal with everything's the same, except you're not the one dealing with the DVD player. And then what we're talking about in cloud native, there is no DVD player. No one has a DVD player. There's no shutting things down to change the movie. It's just all digital. So again, that's an analogy, but that's the technology we're implementing. Is kind of getting rid of our DVD players and moving to Netflix is essentially what we're doing. And again, that's cloud native is a whole nother topic for another hour or two, but that also, like I talked about earlier, gives us remote work options. For example, whether we work remote or not, we have to work that out with the board and what policies and procedures look like. But essentially, if we could work remotely, though, we could do that today. And so if you had like a snowstorm or something even, somebody could work out of their house potentially without needing to come in here. Or we could have people at different centers, or even like I talked about earlier with the collaboration with somebody at another center, Rivercom could spin up one of our consoles at their center to dispatch for us and vice versa if we have staffing shortages. So that's the kind of possibilities it opens up. A lot to work through there on the policy side, but as far as the technology side, we're there pretty much and are almost there. We're there in some ways. All right, next slide, please. And we have tested out remote work a little bit so far. Supervisors have done it, taking calls remotely from their house. And we have a person who used to work with us that moved, and they're still doing some work a couple hours a week just to kind of test out this process. They're handling some of our non-emergency calls.
Is it Amy?
Amy actually will probably be dispatching for us remotely soon,
Okay.
yes. She has worked for us, but it's actually Claire. She's a paramedic who moved to Spokane. So let's see. Oh, and on a side note, real quick at the last slide, we no longer have access to our backup center, which was at the Armory. That's under renovation for the next 12 to 18 months. And so they let us know kind of with short notice that we can no longer use that facility, at least for those 12 to 18 months. And then even after that, our lease will be up shortly thereafter. We'll
Is
look
that
at,
PSAP? Is that what you still call it, the PSAP?
no, that's our backup PSAP. Yeah,
Okay, so
PSAP.
where is it located now?
That's at the Armory.
Oh, it's there, you just can't.
We can't
work on
access it. So that was our backup center, a hot backup center with computers and everything, but we can't access that now. So that's just all the more reason to have this in place.
So I thought you had to have a backup location, so are you moving it or you can't?
We're looking into that options for the backup center.
Okay.
We kind of were notified probably 2 months ago or something like that. But the advantage here is that because we've been working on this for the last 3 years or 4 years, heading toward this direction for the ability to work remotely, put things in the cloud, things like that. It's not a huge concern for us right now because like I said, we've already tested remote call taking from homes. Like
Okay.
the supervisor's done that. We can do that today. And so that's not
So
as huge of a
you
worry.
basically have a backup in place.
And the
Okay.
backup is everywhere. And it's really the centralized model versus the distributed model. And we're gonna go with a distributed model where instead of one backup hardened basket where all your eggs are, you have 100 baskets in everybody's homes.
Okay,
And
I just know we have to have a backup of some sort, so.
yes,
Good to know.
yeah, we are still working on a better solution than that, but it was sort of short notice that we were
Okay.
notified of loss. But we don't have it anymore. So I'm glad that we have been working on this. All right, the next slide, there may be audio with it. I'll see if it plays.
Finally got him off, and then I found out that he totally locked it up, changed all my passcodes.
Caitlin, you're still on.
But I had to reset
That's the audio.
Oh, it is?
the whole thing. My 8-year-old and his friend were laying in the bed in my room, and he wouldn't.
Hang on just a
forced
sec.
his way in there. I was holding the door.
Hang on just a
so
sec.
hard out of the way.
Ma'am.
As hard as I was trying to hold the door, and he wouldn't get in. He knows my husband gets up at work, so he's purposely going in there and and won't get out just to start a fire.
Ma'am, I need you to back up because I did not hear any of that.
I said, when I finally got.
It ends pretty much here, but, and I should have prefaced that before, I know what you were gonna be hearing, but basically this is a live call, there's no personal identifiable information in it. But what you hear is a caller providing information to the call taker.
It sounded like background noise.
It does, that's why you have to be good at multitasking, right? But you have a caller providing information to the call taker, but at the same time, this call taker is dispatching with the police officer. The police officer's providing radio traffic, so you hear the radio traffic, and you hear the call taker handling the radio traffic. So basically, there's three parties involved here, the caller, the call taker, and the field responder, the police officer, or deputy, I'm not sure, but, and so what you have with improved service levels, so you may have heard of AVA, kind of our non-emergency robot line that answers the phones. What that solves for us is, one, you never wait on hold. You call, you immediately get an answer on the phone. But two, you get your service provided. I don't know if you've heard anything about AVA, but you get your service provided, get the information that we need. We set up a call right away. We review it near real time. But what it allows it to do is that dispatcher you just heard can handle the traffic and stuff, then look at the transcript, and this would be a whole other topic for another hour, but could look at the transcript, listen to the recording if they need to, but process that call with all the information that the robot asked on their time. So basically between those traffic stops or whatever the traffic is. Because what this does is, one, it's not good service for the community member. They put on hold, literally on hold when they first call, but then they might be put on hold by the dispatcher as the dispatcher works on other tasks that are higher priority than a non-emergency phone call. So it's provides service there, but it also, the dispatcher might be answering, might be juggling a 911 call at the same time. They do that regularly where they juggle multiple 911 calls or 911 calls and non-emergency calls and the radio traffic. That's that multitasking piece I was talking about. And so if we can reduce some of that, so some of the technologies we'll talk about help us improve those service levels to where the person doesn't have to repeat themselves. The person can get the service they need. They can speak at their leisure. They can call whenever they want. They're never on hold. And it's also better because we have two customers, right, if you will, the public, of course, and also the field responders are our customers. And so, and a lot of times that traffic is emergency traffic as opposed to non-emergency calls, which are generally non-emergency calls. So it's bad service for the caller, it's bad service for the field responder, and it's not good for the dispatcher to have to try to juggle all of that. And so some of the technology we're putting in place, such as our non-emergency robotic line, answering line, artificial intelligence line, helps us resolve that issue. But I wanted you to hear that. That's what that sounds like. That's not an atypical call for us. And then ensuring a compliance with objective standards. So some of the AI tools we're incorporating will help us evaluate every single call, 100% of all calls that dispatchers take. And the AI, if you're familiar with artificial intelligence, it can analyze the calls. Did they ask this? Did they ask this? Did they ask this? And even do sentiment analysis for if they were rude or what their interactions were. It's that good today. If you're not familiar with it, again, whole nother topic. But so it'll help us ensure compliance with our dispatchers instead of just picking two random calls and using that to evaluate their work. We can evaluate 100% of their calls. With those. And again, it works really well. And if the person never has to wait on hold, like I said earlier. And then on these platforms, once you're on these platforms, once you're in the Netflix world instead of the hardware box in your back room, it allows feature development to be a lot quicker. The pace of development is a lot quicker. So we can get these new services out there in the community, life-saving services, and improve the way they can interact with us. And we'll talk about that a little bit later too. Video is one example of that. They can interact with video with us now as well. So next slide, please. So I started with the why, now we're going to the what. So this is the technology projects that we're implementing. So they kind of fall into three categories. Cloud-based, which I talked about earlier, the Netflix versus the on-premise hardware. And what would fall under that for us right now would be our phone system and our CAD system. Our phone system is done. We're about a year live with that. Our CAD system should go live in a couple of weeks, our cloud native CAD system. There might be some delays there. It's a CAD project, computer-aided dispatch project is a huge project. It's a countywide project, but it should be very soon, within the next month or two at the latest, and hopefully in 2 weeks from now. Artificial intelligence, I talked about that. That's our non-emergency call handling system. And then also that training and quality assurance piece I talked about for our internal evaluations. And then LTE radio is going to be a big project for us for next year. We've done a couple presentations on that already to our board. And that's basically leveraging LTE basically cell phones, if you will, or that same technology, to incorporate it, converge it, combine it with our land mobile radio, that's LMR, which is our traditional large towers and tens of millions of dollars worth of equipment, and leverage that to, again, maybe farming some of that out to AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, using those billion-dollar companies to handle some of that workload for us and provide communications anywhere, anytime, including if you leave Grant County, which LMR currently cannot do. Next slide, please. These are like 2 or 3 more slides. So back to the cloud-based, again, CAD from anywhere. You can log into it from anywhere. You don't need to VPN into our server. And in fact, if our center didn't exist, it wouldn't affect our ability to access CAD, which is not true today. But when we have the new CAD, you can access it from anywhere, including, you know, I don't want to jinx us, but if our center were to burn down, the CAD doesn't rely on any equipment at all whatsoever in our center.
I'm sorry, CAD.
Computer-aided dispatch, what we use to run input calls, input dispatch. And then it's also quicker to learn. Our current training manager suggested that it probably would shave the new CAD, just because it's a modern technology and newer, would shave probably 2 to 3 weeks off of our training of our new employees. And then phones, again, that's been live for about a year now. We can access our phones from anywhere, and it doesn't rely on any equipment or anything at our current center. It also allows video. People can provide video to us, which they've done, especially useful in things like fires or whatnot, where they can show us what it looks like, and we could send that to the field responders while they're en route. We have translation, which leverages AI to translate for Spanish-speaking callers, and that's another advantage. Going back real quick to our slide on the non-emergency calls. Actually, we'll get to that in a minute, but our Spanish-speaking callers, which is predominantly what we have in the county, before we wouldn't be able to handle those calls, we'd have to get a third-party translator, which sometimes takes some time and whatnot. This provides direct, it actually works I speak Spanish, and it works really well to provide that translation for our Spanish-speaking callers without needing to go wait online, wait to get an interpreter. So they can do it directly with the robot or the bot. And then transcription, it provides real-time transcription that helps reduce that multitasking, because when you have transcription there, if you miss something because when the person was saying it while you were handling with the radio or traffic stop, you could go back and read the transcription, and it could help you in some cases.
If a person's hysterical, will that pick up on it and pass it to a person?
The non-emergency, well, we'll get to that in a second, but yes, it absolutely does. It absolutely will. Go next slide, please. And I think this is what you're referring to, which is our non-emergency line handling for our bot for handling non-emergency calls. That definitely will pick up on emergencies and transfer them through. It's been 100% effective at that. We're at over 37,000 calls since the end of May, Labor Day week, or Memorial Day weekend. We put it live, and since then it's handled 37,000 calls. There's a test line. If you want to write that down, you're welcome to make a test call and see what the system's like. But so on top of that, we also have call simulation. So the AI program that I was talking about for QA to assess 100% of all the calls, it can also do simulation for training. So as we get new people in, sometimes they'll go through training without taking a CPR call, for example, just because it's luck of the draw. They might go a couple months without getting one. We can simulate those with the trainer, but those are kind of hard to do. The AI does an extremely good job of simulating a caller who's having a heart attack or whatnot, and we can pre-program in what we want it to sound like. And that trainee can have taken, say, 100 CPR calls by the time they're done with training, instead of maybe 1 or 2 or whatever the luck of the draw is. And then quality assurance, I already mentioned that. Real-time summaries of 911 calls. Again, that's more kind of transcription, an intelligent transcription, so the dispatcher can look and see what's going on. What was the vehicle description again? It'll just show a vehicle description and show what that is. What was the suspect description? So quick reference that the AI is doing for them is just kind of a note taker on the side. And then you may or may not do this, but we use these for meeting minutes and house and administrative tasks, like the transcription of our meetings, like this meeting. It would transcribe it for us and then summarize it for us. And I mean, that works. AI does that today, and it does a really good job of it. I was going to show you, we're not going to click on it, but I was going to show you there. I don't think we have time, but I was going to have it click on here and show you a sample call. I made a call to our test system at that number just to show you how the AI works. It works pretty well. And it's only getting better. The pace of improvement is pretty quick on the AI front. So I don't think we have time to listen to the call, but there's a call there. But if you want to make a test call, feel free to call anytime. It just goes internally to us, but you can make a test call and report a barking dog, a theft.
You
whatever
have a
want.
little extra time if you do want to play it.
All right, let me see. Yeah, we'll go to the next slide and we can come back to this slide. So, whoops, back one. So this is the LTE radio again. LMR is complex. We have tens of millions of dollars of equipment, 14 radio sites, large sites that all have generators and propane tanks and servers and HVAC systems. And our intention is to continue supporting that, but it's becoming increasingly difficult, increasingly expensive. Interoperability, which they've talked about with land mobile radio for decades now, has never come to fruition partly because the companies don't want to have no incentive to engage, to tie their systems together to allow you to talk across disparate systems. And this, I'm talking between counties, for example, especially at the borders with firefighting and whatnot between our county and Okanagan County or whatnot. But also LTE radio, which is again leveraging cellular technology. You can talk from anywhere because you can make a phone call from anywhere. You could talk on the radio from anywhere in the country, and we've tested that. And then it allows the backup option. Long-term cost savings is a lot less expensive in the long run, and then it paves the way for future technology. I don't know if you've seen the news, but where the satellite direct to your cell phone, that's coming probably within the next year or two. The cell phone you have today, right now, nothing changed with it, with the current technology, it could get a satellite signal. Now, currently that can work with Apple, and Google actually does it too, where you can get up to a satellite and send an emergency text. This is actually just talking over a satellite, which is again coming the next year or two. It's a proven technology. And so once we have these in everyone's hands and set up in the county, as soon as this happens, all of a sudden, all of our devices become satellite devices. So if you want to talk about resiliency and interoperability, that's, in my opinion, that's huge. So that's a huge innovation that didn't exist a few years ago that we're trying to leverage. So that'll be a big project, hopefully for next year, with our board's approval. But if you want to go back to that slide, and we can listen to the recording real quick. I just made a call. I did not make multiple calls or anything. I just made a call, and this is what happened.
This is a recorded automated assistant. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911.
Para español, presione 1.
Mac Demo, this is Ava. How can I help you?
Hey Ava, I need to report a theft. Someone stole my lawnmower from my shed.
Okay. Let me look up some options. Could you please provide the address where the theft occurred, including any nearby businesses or unit numbers if relevant?
Yeah, it's 208 South Hamilton Road.
Thank you. Which city is this address in?
Moses Lake.
Are you currently at the incident location?
Yeah, it's my house. I'm at home right now.
When did the theft occur?
I'm not sure, but sometime last night.
Is 360-852-3607 the best number to reach you at?
No, can you do 555-123-1212?
Could you please provide your full name?
Yeah, John Doe.
Thank you, John Doe. Can you describe the lawnmower that was stolen?
It's a zero-turn lawnmower, Toro.
What is the estimated value of the lawnmower?
About $3,000.
Do you have any information about a suspect or a description of who might have taken it?
No, there are some tire tracks where they backed up to the shed, but unfortunately my doorbell camera didn't capture anything.
Would you like an officer to contact you in person or over the phone?
Either way is fine.
Is there any additional information you think might be helpful?
Yeah, if I don't answer, if they could call my wife instead. Her number is 555-123-1213.
Okay. To confirm, you're reporting a stolen Toro lawnmower from 208 South Hamilton Road in Moses Lake. Your contact number is 555-123-1212, and if unavailable, your wife can be reached at 555-123-1213. Is this correct?
Yep.
1 second. The information has been submitted, and someone may follow up with you if needed. You're free to hang up now. If you need help with anything else, feel free to ask.
All right, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Take care.
So typical call, we've had tens of thousands of those that we've taken since Memorial Day weekend. That, again, you're welcome to call if you want to and just to see.
He was a fast talker.
Yeah, we can change that actually. We can set that. And it's actually adaptive as well to where if you speak a little bit slower, it'll slow down a little bit as well. But again, work in progress still. We're improving it regularly. The vendor we work with is very, very responsive. And so, I think if you would have heard this 3 months ago, it was not quite as good. 3 months from now, you'll be like, this was garbage.
Okay, if this is a test line, where's the 37,000 calls coming from? What number are they calling?
It's our non-emergency number. When you call the non-emergency number, it forwards to this system.
So they go to a website and they see that there's a non-emergency number, otherwise
So-
911?
No, it's just, they just call a non-emergency number and Ava will answer the phone. It's just like you heard here.
Or I think, can you call 911 and then just let them know that this is not an emergency, and then they can
Yes.
push you over to the non-emergency number. They can take care of it for you.
Yep, we would transfer the person. We just push a button on and transfers them to the other line. And again, there's no ringing, it just answers right away. And if 50 people call at the same time, they all get answered right away instead of being put on hold. So I could show you if you want to click on that. I don't know if there's time, but if you want to click on that transcript link. So this is this may not work because I have to log in. I think it's opening up on, yeah, sorry. I won't be able to, I could show you on my laptop, but I can show you what the call taker sees.
Okay.
And basically it's a quick AI summary that'll say like kind of what you heard at the end, but just lawnmower stolen from this address and tire tracks were seen and all, if not available, call the wife at this number. It'll just give a quick box of all that right there that they can cut and paste into our CAD system. The next iteration of this will be the click a button and it automatically goes over to our CAD system. But right now they have to cut and paste it. And then it'll have a full transcript of the entire conversation. And if there's a piece that they didn't quite understand, like I don't know if that address is right, I want to hear that again. They could just click on that portion and just hear just that portion, or they can listen to the whole transcript. The amount of times we have to listen to something is probably, I'm just guessing here, or based on my knowledge of what I've heard, anecdotally, 1 out of 100 calls that we actually have to listen to, because otherwise the summary is pretty good. But we can listen to the whole thing. We might have to call the person back if we didn't get all the information. That might happen 1 out of every 100 calls where we have to call the person back. Hey, we're missing this information, or can you confirm this or that? But now it's even getting better. They just implemented a new feature where it'll validate the address for us. So it does that. So we know it's a validated address within Grant County. It's getting better and better. But otherwise, our dispatchers are trained. They'll look at the address, confirm it, look at the information, or if they need to, they'll call back and get better information. But again, 37,000 calls, and I think it might be 38,000 now since I made this slide, but works pretty well. And again, you saw what we're reducing here is, I know some people don't like to talk to a robot. I understand that. But we deal with emergencies as well. We need to reduce our multitasking. One call taker can handle the output of this. I didn't show you what that looks like, but basically it takes about 20 to 30 seconds to process a call, to basically cut and paste into CAD and make sure you have everything right, as opposed to an average of about 2.5 to 3.5 minute phone call. So if you do the math there, I mean, one person handling these can handle the work of 3, 4, 5 call takers easily. In fact, that's what our person does, Claire from Spokane. She'll process these for us. Perfect at work from home, because if their internet goes out, she just tells us, hey, you got it now, and we got it. But she helps cover during lunch breaks, so our staff can go enjoy lunch without putting the burden on them. So it's just an hour or 2 a day that she covers during lunch, and she'll just go into the website that we weren't able to access here, but just process the calls as they pop in. Their little tickets come up. She reads the summaries, cuts and pastes into a CAD, and creates a CAD call, and then coordinates if there's any coordination needed with our on-duty dispatchers. So I know other center, we were the first to go live with this system in the country actually, and so now it's kind of a lot more are going live with it. Snohomish County just went live with it. We got a call from Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee, to ask us about it. We did a demo for them, not a demo for them, but they asked us questions about it. I believe they're going live on PennCom, which is out on the by Seattle area. They're going live with it. So this is the way things are going to happen, because we have to do something with that staffing that I talked about. We have to do something with it. And this is pretty good today, only going to get better. Does a pretty good job of handling those non-emergency calls. Again, we haven't gotten very many complaints. I don't know about our partner agencies, but we Mac itself has not got many complaints out of 37,000 and counting, so. And we have had, if we had a hiccup here or there, which there's probably been 2 or 3, contact the vendor, they fix it right away. They're very responsive to it, so. Any questions? I went over a little bit, I appreciate the time, but any questions on anything? I know these are all individual topics that go for hours, but that was a brief summary of the what and the why.
Very interesting. Thank you, DT.
Yeah, thank you for the update.
How much staff time have you cut out with this? I mean, 37,000 calls times 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, it's probably about 3 minutes is a good average. That's definitely over 1,500 hours of time on the phone, 1,500 hours of time on the phone. Now, if you take it about 30 seconds to process those calls, you have to subtract out, so it's at least well over 1,000 hours of time on the literal time on the phone that we've cut out in the last, since basically June.
I have a question on your salary. Are the employees paid quite well and they just opt to leave or go into law enforcement or a different avenue?
So pay has been somewhat of an issue, but we have pretty significant raises next year with our new contract. Okay. But even with pay, I worked at the city of Portland as well before coming here. And even there, it's not about the pay. It's that that's a whole other topic. I actually did a thesis on it for my graduate work. But part of it's that multitasking piece, but just it'd be a whole nother topic. I wouldn't even.
Well, do your staff, are they like on swing shift, night shift,
Yes.
day shift? Do they switch around or are they only
They're either night shift or day shift. Okay. They can bid it.
12-hour days?
12-hour days. You could debate that. There's a lot of debates about 8 hours versus 12 hours and switching nights and not nights. But I look at the forums across the country on 911 centers. I'm very involved with the other directors. They're calling us for our technology, but we're also just talking about different policies and whatnot. And this center just went from 12s to 8s to improve their work-life balance. This center just went from 8s to 12s to improve their work-life balance. This center just started rotating. This center just stopped rotating. I don't think there's a perfect solution in any of those. And the evidence doesn't bear it out that there's a perfect solution there. In my opinion, having some of these options that allow us to work with other 911 centers and have more flexibility is really what people, with our demographic that works predominantly in 911, they want flexibility for family life or whatnot. And I think having that flexibility would be having some remote workers, having some on-demand workers, having contracts or MOUs with other agencies that, hey, you want the day off? Is there somebody else out there willing to work this? Yes, go ahead and have it off. I think that's where we win. So that's the direction we're heading.
Okay.
Have you seen a savings in staff time with this system?
In what way? What do you mean?
Well, before you guys had a lot of overtime, you were trying to fill in with, Garrett would even run the phone some days. Are you able to kind of cut back some of that with this system?
So not this specifically, because we're always multitasking, so it's not like we can reduce staff. We still need the staff there. Even like firefighters sleeping at night, we still need the staff there even if nothing's going on, right? Because in case something happens. But we have seen, so we had somebody from Rivercom that came to us specifically because they were getting mandated some obscene amount of hours per week there. They came in. So in other words, and we had some people just come from out of state here. So I think we can become a magnet for people that see what we're doing to leverage technology and see the writing on the wall as far as other centers that are not doing this. And that really this takes years to do. We've been working on it specifically with a single eye focus for the last 4 years. So if you're not on board now, it's going to take you a few years to get there. So, and we're already there basically. So I do think we'll be able to attract more people. And once we have more staffing and so right now before we had a vicious cycle, right? Where somebody leaves, everybody else gets stuck with the workloads, and then somebody else leaves and it's a vicious downward cycle. I think we're creating a virtuous cycle right now where we're doing okay now. We got staffing. People are staying because they see that the workload's getting better, and then we're attracting more people because the workload's better, and it's a virtuous cycle. So I do think we're at the kind of front end of that virtuous cycle. We absolutely have seen that with somebody coming from another center specifically for that reason, just in the last little bit, and then also people not leaving. We haven't seen the outflux in the last few months that we'd seen in the past.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I was just trying to go onto your website. It's like not coming up. It's like
NAC911.org?
Yeah.
Oh, it should be fine.
Yeah, it's like giving me trouble.
We also do have online reporting, but nobody uses that.
You can also text.
911.org.
We also do text, yeah. Yeah,
Okay, well,
Coming up for you?
yeah, no problem.
Danny, do you,
I can't reach this page, but I'm reaching everything else.
nope, it's coming up. Your
Came
phone
up with
block, I
yours
don't want
too?
you to block. Okay, well, if it is 11:10, if there is nothing else, we will be in recess until 11:30 when we meet with to adopt our budget, the 2025 budget hearing. Well, making tax levies and setting assessment rates.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, DT. I'll see you again.
Nice meeting you. I don't believe we've met.
I don't think we have anything.
I'm gonna go tour over there and help with, me seeing all the equipment stuff. Great.
Yeah, but if you're ever interested in a deeper dive into any of these topics, let me know. Happy to do it. Very excited.
Good afternoon, it is 11:30. We are here for the Grant County 2025 budget adoption and making the levy, the tax levies and setting the assessment rates, and then in parentheses, I see noxious weeds. Might be easier to talk about the tax levies. Or how do we want to go? I don't believe we're ready to adopt the budget today.
There was a 4 o'clock. Was Daryl present on the schedule today? Or 4:15?
Certification of levies to the county assessor for RCW 4.
I'm going back to the assessor.
5452-070. So I believe we had some discussion with the commissioner. Let me see if I can get the right paper. Was sorry, I'm really careful trying to get my paper. It's the only thing you can hear. Taking capacity plus 1%. And the capacity included the new construction, I believe is where we left off at our meeting last week.
And that's what the board
Decision was to
adopted.
take banked and new construction.
And not the 1%?
Correct.
No,
Oh, no, bank capacity and new construction, no 1%.
right, those, your 2 motions, or your motion that was passed to do that.
And I did submit those numbers that you came up with last week to the assessor.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
And so the second paper on our list is that reflects that decision.
The certification form?
The certification form does. This is a separate resolution ordinance that the board passes each year.
And you have, oh,
We've already done the levy certification. Now we do the
plus your motion and the numbers reflect also in the amended motion to include the refund levy.
Yeah.
So the numbers include refund levy, banked new construction, but not 1%. So the
Okay, I'm just looking for that. Do we have a copy of it somewhere? We got a copy of the scenario.
I believe when I sent it to the assessor's office Wednesday or Tuesday, I forwarded the board to the
I
board.
think it was Wednesday. It's in our hearings too.
Okay, 11:26. Okay, so I guess I'm a little confused. So are we setting, we've already voted on this, so are we doing it, certifying the levies at 4 o'clock? We certifying the levies today? What is the meeting, the purpose of today?
Today is adopting the budget along with making tax levies. So every year, the board has to pass an ordinance resolution for current expense along with the road fund. So all the other small taxing districts have presented that and already gave them to the assessors. That's what you will be certifying back to the assessor's office this afternoon at 4. But for right now, it's the resolution ordinance that the board has to adopt each budget hearing. So that's what this is. And Dave and I are prepared to present those.
Okay, Dave, if you'd like to, thank you for, I'm at a little at a loss here what I'm doing. So, Dave, would you like to present, Dave and Barb? Dave, we'll start with you.
Do you want me to go to the podium?
Please, then you're right by the mic now.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Dave Bren, road engineer for county roads. So last year, our levy amount was $10,865,904.27. The request for this year would be to increase that $255,190.44. This would be for a 1% increase plus the new construction. This would be a total of 2.35% increase from previous year. That is the request from county roads, for county roads. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Any questions for Dave?
I have none.
Thank you.
Barbara Vasquez, clerk of the board. After working with the board and the assessor and treasurer, the current expense fund last year was $21,551,514.37. The increase from the previous year that the board will be taking is 5.170677479, which is an increase from last year of $1,114,359.30. And that was reviewed by the treasurer and the assessor. So that is what I am proposing.
Okay, any questions for Barb? Thank you.
I have none.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay. Now, do we adopt the resolution? Do we don't? Okay, let's see, we have the resolution for the noxious weed board. It looks like 23 cents per acre for irrigated, 9 cents for dry land, 6 cents for scab land or range ground, $14 minimum per parcel, and $7.95 for the right of way per center mile. And that's what they are presenting, and it's signed by the noxious weed board of Grant County.
I don't have any questions or comments on that. They've been presented to us earlier in the year.
Okay, so we've got those. We've got public works, current expense, and the noxious weed board. Are there any? No, I'm.
We need to take public comment.
Is there any public comment?
You have 4 call-in users. I have given them the ability to unmute to speak if any of you have any public comment.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments? And Barb, do we have it in our file, in our hearing file? All of this information?
The resolutions that were presented today, yes, they're in the hearings file.
Go to the website.
Go to the Grant County website.
Yeah, and then go to the commissioners.
Okay, well, I gave her with you. Hearing no public comment.
I would like to make a motion to close the public comment portion of this meeting, this hearing.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to close the comment portion of this hearing. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The public comment portion of this hearing has been closed.
I'm going to, Madam Chair, may I have the floor?
You sure can.
Would it be appropriate, I'm going to address this to the clerk of the board. Barbara, would it be appropriate for us to make 4 different motions, or can we make our motion all in one?
Are you gonna approve the budget today?
No. I'm going to, if I was going to make a motion, I would consider making a motion that continues the hearing on the budget and approves the other 3 items.
Every one motion would be.
We have not had a chance to meet with HR about our personnel proposals. And we have made a commitment to speak with them before we move on. We'll be having that meeting later today. So I would like to make a motion, Madam Chair, to approve the resolution on the levies for current expense, approve the resolution for the levies on county roads, and approve the resolution for setting the noxious weed assessments, and continue this hearing to consider the 2025 budget.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the resolutions for the assessment, but to continue the adoption of the current expense budget. Any discussion?
You want to tell everyone the date and time you're continuing?
We will continue the adoption of the budget until tomorrow, which will be December 3rd at 4:00 here in the Grant County hearing room.
I would make that part of my motion.
Bob, can you amend your second?
Second.
Okay, motion and second to adopt the resolution setting the assessments and continuing the current expense hearing, adoption of the current expense hearing until tomorrow at 4:00. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This concludes our hearing for today. Sorry to make that so confusing, because I'm just finding my information.
There, Barbie.
Carol?
So the board decided to have 2 special weekly meetings.
Good afternoon, it is 1:00. We are here for the Commissioners Roundtable for miscellaneous discussion. Welcome, welcome. Everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend.
This is a test of my audio. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
Get back to my budget, I'm trying to quietly turn the page. Okay, review of consent agenda items. First, before we do that, does anybody in the room have anything to add? You don't have to listen to us go through our agenda. Do you have anything to add or? Any consent agenda? Barb, can you hear my paper? I've just verified you. That's all you can hear.
Nope, I can hear you perfect. It's a lot better hearing you.
On number 7, Madam Chair, I'd like to suggest that we hold that one. It's the lobbying contract until after our budget is passed. On number 11, there's an ARPA request that I believe we need to hold until after our ARPA meeting. And that's this week. 12 and 13, I will be voting to deny those requests. I think we discussed that earlier today. And I was wondering on number 22, I don't have anybody here from the sheriff's office. That was kind of an odd one for me. It's asking to reimburse for lost items. And I don't even know if that's a good conversation for us to have here, but it's like,
It could be a cell phone or something.
why would we reimburse? I just like to know who lost the stuff. You know, we're gonna reimburse for lost items. They look like they could be personal items, and I'm going, well, I lost my personal cell phone, I wouldn't ask the county to reimburse me for my personal cell phone. I'm just trying to figure this one out. I think when you read through the list, it's the last one.
I'm gonna read those items.
This is reimbursement for lost items for a terminated employee. And one is a garage door opener, and several are magazines for weapons, and some is ammo. And it just seems kind of odd.
So it's probably things in the car.
Are we reimbursing the employee or I thought we were reimbursing the sheriff's office for those?
I can't answer that one. I assume that's probably a good question for me to just email the sheriff on and get my answer because.
No, it would be our employee. I would think that they would still be the vehicle.
But I don't know that there was any wrecked vehicle that was like totaled out or something that.
No, I believe it was a vehicle. It was the almost. It was either left in his vehicle or sometimes we will have these if somebody is incarcerated and we've lost something, like we've lost a pair of glasses during
Yeah.
incarceration.
I would just jot it, I'll jot an email to the
Okay.
sheriff on that one. That's the only questions I had on items on the agenda. We made some corrections to the minutes prior, but I spoke with Barb and Caitlin on those. I'm sorry, Tom.
Item number 2, which is the request to use the port property.
You'd like to discuss that one?
If I could, I'd ask the board to hold that until next week after speaking with the port. He's in Washington DC right now, returning Thursday, but has some ideas for land that might be better for us to use. And he'd like the opportunity to discuss that.
I'm gonna be okay with holding that.
Yeah, so what is proposed is holding 2, 7, 11. Which I write down. Sometimes I get excited and forget. Okay, anything else on the agenda or the consent agenda?
Danny, was 11 a hold or a deny?
No, it's a hold. We're gonna have an ARPA meeting here tomorrow. And I think we can decide at that time whether we wanna move it forward, probably in that meeting later in the day, we can run it through, but I think we need to have that discussion and I just wanted to make sure that was on our radar.
Okay, Commissioner District updates?
District one, not a lot to update on a Thanksgiving week. I was out of here, when I didn't come in after Tuesday, so I would say this, that I have had conversations with Kevin Burgess and mentioning to him, I was glad that he had attended the WASAC meetings in Vancouver. I thought that was a good kind of an initiation. And I had mentioned to him that that probably my other seatmates were not interested in serving on the LSC or the Columbia River Caucus. I really encouraged that somebody be involved. And after I spoke to him, Rob has mentioned he hasn't decided maybe on the LSC, but I just want to just verify that our new commissioner coming in is willing to serve in those areas in the new year. So there's quite a few committees and stuff you guys will have to be deciding on, but I was just wanting to get a head start on those because they expect us to participate. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Danny. Rob?
The only outside meeting last week, I had a homeless meeting with City of Moses Lake ad hoc and staff and just discuss the pallet shelters a little bit more. Hopefully I have a direction from them this week on what they're gonna do about their ARPA. But last week they did, had a long meeting, like 6-hour meeting. I think I left at 11:30. But
at night?
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like a health district meeting.
Yeah, only, 3 hours longer. They
Can I
did.
comment on that, Rob?
But
just comment that, yeah, that's really crucial that we know that because we have to allocate those funds. If they're gonna reimburse them to us, we should probably, even if they haven't given us the dollars in our pocket yet, we probably need to make some sort of a statement about where those dollars are gonna go by the 31st of December.
Yeah, they had a really long meeting and they didn't really make any decisions in the meeting. They did make one decision to rescind their TIF. So their tax incremental finance, their district there. So they rescinded that. They're not going to be doing that for their roundabout on Yonezawa and then through. So they did make that decision. As far as the animal outreach and their funding, they haven't made that decision yet. The health district funding, I think they've made the decision, but they didn't make the vote.
What was their decision on that?
They're not funding it, I believe was their decision. What was their other? Oh, the homeless, they had to do with the shelters also and continuing operation of the sleep center. They didn't make the decision on that, but there was probably an hour of public comment on that. Probably 30 minutes on animal shelter and 30 minutes on the health funding. So it's probably 3 hours of public comment. So stay tuned. But they did rescind the TIF, so now we only have
That's
one.
good news. Kind of. So we're working on our budget for now. Okay, I attended the Royal School District school board meeting. They did the Amazing Shake, and I know I've briefed both of you on it, the students in the intermediate school. So somebody back east started this. It was a private school, but it's a private school that's the kids that go can't afford to go, so they are sponsored by others that can go. But what they learn is a handshake, so they call it the Amazing Shake. So you've got to look somebody in the eye, shake their hand, and then kind of do a quick introduction. So then they have the gauntlet where you've got to sell a motorcycle, and then another one is you've got to present the weather. I think they have like 20 activities that go around and have their role play. They have 1 minute. One of them is they are the doctor. They've got to tell the parents that are in their little scenario that they just did surgery and left a rag or something in their, son or daughter's stomach, and they've got to redo the surgery. So it is kind of comical how you how they go about. And one, it's like you work at Subway and you've just been notified that you don't have the meat, because they're trying to make a sandwich, you don't have the meat. So someone would say, hey, I'm sorry, but our truck is stuck in Canada. You know, they would just come up with these great scenarios, but they have to tell, you know, kind of live the story, and it's pretty good. So anyway, just kind of working with that. Mattawa has been in it for several years. Royal, I think they're on their third or fourth year, but it's pretty cool. So just kind of getting the other schools involved, and getting the principals, the people in the school district. We've got the EDC, Boeing is actually, and Microsoft have been so impressed with it, they've given money. So kind of getting every school in my district doing an amazing shake, because it really is a great leadership and everybody can do it. It's not like somebody has to have, you know, private piano lessons or piano, you know, it's just open for everybody, and it's really kind of a learning, an educational and a leadership opportunity. And then we did receive an email from Toyoyama, the city of Toyoyama, from the 3 individuals that came over, just wishing us a happy Thanksgiving. And Barb, I am not sure if she forwarded that to you. And then a letter from each of the students. And it's a very nicely, it must have taken them months. They probably have been writing the letter for 3 months since they left us in August. But we got a nice letter, and I will go ahead and send that to the host families here in Grant County that they stayed with. And it's kind of the, I don't know, struggles, but kind of, you know, they were very nervous about coming here and, you know, talking with their hands, because they discovered that they're English. We talk really fast, and sometimes it's hard to, but it was neat to get those letters. So I'd be more than happy to share those with you. And that's about it for our update. It's been pretty quiet. Is there anything else? And if you would like to judge the Amazing Shake, they're always looking for volunteers. So I know the EDC, like I said, different principals and schools have been involved in government. Pretty quiet. Danny? All right, well, if you have nothing, it's 1:14, so it could be a short meeting. All right, okay, well, it's 1:14, we are in recess until 2 o'clock.
I drive green old.
Well,
The only Ford I drive through the county. That's only because it's provided.
Good afternoon, it is 2 o'clock. We are here with Public Works for our weekly update. This meeting is recorded and will be available on YouTube at a later date. So welcome.
Good afternoon. Items C1 through C5. I can give you a quick overview or ask if you have any questions on any of those items. Which would you prefer?
Just trying to pull up your agenda here from.
Are those currently all on consent? It's through C5?
Yeah.
Yes.
C1 through C5?
Yeah.
I didn't have any questions on your consent items.
Okay.
I didn't bring up any today. I thought the Maverick issue over the Escape was a great decision.
Yeah, that's C4. But the AFAD is an automated flagging assistance device. It was also total in an accident. So that's what that is about. Call for bids on a chip spreader. Ironically, chip spreaders are not offered on any state contracts. So we can't purchase off a state contract. Culverts aren't either, so I don't know.
You got shovels on state contract, don't you?
Maybe.
Spread with that.
There you go. Well, they do a pretty good job, but occasionally you find something that is just kind of bizarre that it's not offered, but this is one of them. So that's call for bids to purchase one next year.
So item number 19, the flagger, the automatic flagger, did somebody hit that or?
No, it came off of the pickup as a seasonal employee was towing it and rolled into the field.
Oops, okay. Yeah. So it was involved in an accident, just self-inflicted?
Yeah.
Are you saying that the ball wasn't snapped on, the chains weren't hooked up?
Nobody knows. Never,
The trailer just
really
came on?
don't know what happened, but it came unhooked, so I
Suspect it was not.
suspect it wasn't latched.
I doubt that got lifted so it would fit over the ball. I think it was probably closed and set on top of the ball, is my guess. But nobody really knows.
Because, you know, they will, it's happened where it doesn't get latched and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's part of our training now.
And the safety chain didn't hold on to it, it could only carry it
We
for so
doubt
long?
that happened either.
No.
Yeah,
It is now part of our orientation for all seasonal. They go through that on the exact way to hook up a trailer.
because when you interview, everybody knows how to do it. They do it all the time. So that's, we've made some changes there. Yeah, that's about it. If you don't have any questions for C1 through C5, we'll move on to, I'm most excited about C6. That's the ER&R operational policy that we spoke about last week. I'm most excited about it because it pretty much completes the overhaul of our ER&R. It was a massive undertaking this year. It was a team effort, and this is kind of the completion of it. If we had a policy, nobody can find it. So at that ER&R was started, is it 1974, Dave? 77. And to my knowledge, we've never had a policy. So we do now. I'm sure it'll get changed, but I'm pretty proud of the fact that it was the rates, everything was recalculated, reworked, fixed, and now we have an operation policy. So the transfer of the bridge, it's very good for us, in my opinion.
The three,
Can I-
or
can
something
I put
happens,
a
and we have to
pause?
repair it.
Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I was just jokingly said, let's hurry and transfer before something happens and we have to repair it. The roads are gonna get slick.
Out of 22 items on our consent agenda, none of them are from Public Works.
Yes, they are. What are you looking at? Are you looking at the right? They have 15 through 21.
I have it, it says it's development services.
Are you looking at the right one?
Okay. Yeah, it has it listed as development services on the.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
They have.
Printout.
Yeah, in the
Yeah,
printout, it says Public
I'm
Works.
online here looking at the list of items on the PDF of all the items, and it's 189 pages, by the way.
Oh, I see.
Well, you can probably describe your handwriting in front of you.
Resolution for adopting equipment rental, there we go. So. All is forgiven, Kaylin, I got it.
Just wait like 10 minutes and then go look again, Danny, and it'll say Public Works.
Refresh.
Okay, I'm with you now.
That's all I have. If you guys have any questions or,
This was the policy you went over with us.
Yep, I think maybe last week, but yeah. Like I say, that was a lot of work, and we put together a really good team that put a lot of effort and a lot of thought. It was needed desperately.
So, how many vehicles are you gonna purchase on this number 20 because of the long delays? Did you have a list on there? I didn't know if I went to the list.
It's on the equipment expense program. It's the vehicles that are on there. So while there's all the sheriff department vehicles, so that's 19 or 20. And with everything else, probably about 25, 26 vehicles.
Do you ever have any problem with, I mean, we tell people often, don't spend your whole budget of the first of the year. It's gonna come in over the course of the year. Are you a little worried that you would get them all landing at the same time?
Hasn't happened yet. Yeah, no, some of them.
That fund's in good shape too.
Yeah, it's not like we're gonna.
That fund can,
It can withstand a
They can
hit,
absorb
more
a-
so
they can
than
absorb a lot.
some of our budgets.
And even before delays were a major issue, we never had that problem. They were always coming in here and there in bits and pieces.
But the situation with this one is that we can make sure that none of them can land before 2025, but they won't come in the next month.
No, and they all, when I email them the PO, I always put that in there. Don't deliver or invoice before January 1st, so.
But before December 31st of 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked through all these, didn't have a question really. I don't know why when I saw it today, this has development services, and I didn't catch that when I was reading through them last night. Probably because I was just going through the actual stuff instead of by headings.
If there's no other questions, that's all we have.
Okay, I do have a comment. Road 3 off of Adams Road. Just wondered if there's speed limit signs. I brought it up earlier. My friend Larry, just 50 mile an hour. But I know he has an officer that lives down the road. But it was more during.
Yes, Stormy Boffman lives in the area. He's actually up at Frenchman Hills, but
Okay.
he does drive that road quite a bit.
But it's like, just a signage. I'm like, well, typically it's 50 unless it's marked, but he just wants to remind everybody I think it's 50. I haven't gone to look to make sure it is 50 and not 55, or 60.
It's not 60. It's likely 50, but it's definitely not 60.
I'll tell him it's 60, so he doesn't want to speed limit sign. And then I gotta take care of Larry. And then he had a question on K Road in that area. There's a bus that stops on the side of the road and, well, pretty much in the road. And I'm like, I have talked to the school districts in my district to ask them to not park on the road or the highway, when they get kids to try to pull off. But he said this one, if the county could, I'm like, you may have to just haul some gravel in and put it, build that up so they can turn over. He's like, well, let the county know. And I'm like, well, we've always done it ourselves. So I don't know if that's something the county does, but.
Typically, and I don't know where on K Road this is on the asphalt section. I don't know.
I think it's where, I think it must have a narrow shoulder, so there's no area, but
We don't typically
do that area, but if they wanted to, they could haul dirt or build it up so they could turn out. But I will say the school has been working on getting the buses off the road, because I see them when I come in, they're pulling on the canal area and going around. But I haven't been on K Road, so I don't know.
If they are stopped picking up kids, they have all their lights flashing and you can't pass them anyway at that
Well,
point.
yeah, but the problem is when it's foggy.
Oh.
You can't see until you're right there, and then they're stopped, and there's a lot of truck traffic.
So are they requesting to put in a couple of these in the right of way, basically just pullouts? Is that what?
No, I think just it's their driveway, but I think they could build up their driveway so that the bus could pull.
Have
But
them,
I mean, I just said you probably need to build up your driveway, so the bus could get off the road and pull in. And he said, well, let the county know. And I'm like, oh, I don't think the county does that. I think if you want to build up your driveway, you personally get to do it, widen it out or.
correct, so.
Maybe he was asking to let the county know that he's gonna do it.
No, I'm pretty
No,
sure
that's
that
not
was
Larry.
So it's an approach permit or right of way permit, depending on if, and let them know this is absolutely possible. You have to work with David Early. But it would be an approach permit or a right of way permit if it's not part of their approach.
Okay.
And this absolutely can be worked through. And that's the right way to do it, because that's not just a verbal thing, it's let's get them.
Because he's not gonna be happy if he does it without approval or a permit and our grader guy goes through there and doesn't know that and rips it right back out.
Yep.
Well, and then do we put we don't put bus stop signs, bus stop ahead, do we?
We do not.
We do not, Dave. We do not.
I have not.
I'm following John, so we do not. John would know. We do not.
I
Okay.
have not seen it. But I mean, requests, it's okay for them to, like we have our signed petition on our
Oh,
website.
they can do a sign request.
They
if they
could,
want.
and it's possible, we would research and then we would say, no, we can't do it, because then we'd have to do it for XYZ. Or we might put that in, for example, there's certain zones that we had to put in our code.
Mhm.
And if it's a school zone, maybe that could be signed, et cetera. So we'd have to take a look at it. It's location dependent, and if it requires something that goes in the code, board involvement as well. So that would be a petition for that.
Okay, I will pass that on.
Seems like a high liability to do one in one place.
Correct. That's what we were warned about a couple of years ago, is we have to be really careful. We have to be systematic about it if we're gonna do it. Yep. Thank you.
That's the XYZ.
That's the XYZ. That's why, but you wanna give staff the time to look it over and think about it and have a response for you. A recommendation for you.
All right, so
Next week, we got the service fees public hearing.
Yes.
You have pending these other two down here. When are they pending to? Do you know yet?
So Rebecca has asked for some extra time because they're understaffed. I think someone was out on leave, if you will. So
Early next year, you're talking about these.
exactly. So give her a little bit more time. That being said, I was gonna talk to her today about it, about moving up to see the walkway surface maintenance. I think we're headed into snow time again, and if we had that in our code, just like the city of Moses Lake has that in their code, it's really important. If something has to get moved up, I would recommend the walkway surface maintenance. We have 2,500 miles, and we have paths, trails, and sidewalks spread out all over that. And we do not even have the equipment to maintain those, right? So we need to do what the other agencies do and have the adjoining property owner conduct only the surface maintenance. So what that means is if the sidewalk gets cracked or damaged, or the path gets damaged, we replace the physical infrastructure, but we have them involved with taking the garbage off of the frontage if it's a path, and to maintain it as well, because we will not be able to do it. And that is all built into that. And actually, if we go back, there is a draft that's on our website, yes, but I think I handed that draft to you already. So it's in a previous meeting that we had, just discussion at that time. So it is a big deal to get that in place for liability reasons, yes, but also for a practical matter. We will not be able to maintain those facilities that are spread out, and we don't even have the equipment to do so. So it's a practical matter, and other agencies have chosen to do that. Spokane County, City of Spokane, City of Moses Lake, this ordinance is very similar to theirs.
City of Ephrata.
Even the City of Ephrata, exactly.
In fact, I think City of Ephrata, the adjoining landowner is responsible for replacement of the structure.
So ours is actually, how do I say it, more lenient, because we're just asking them to maintain it, and that the county is responsible for replacing. So ours is actually more lenient than other agencies. They made them responsible for everything, including replacing it, that's a substantial cost. So it's kind of an in-between level,
So
and
what's
it helped our
hindering us
liability.
moving forward?
This would be the walkway surface maintenance, P2.
Rebecca's reviewing.
Rebecca, they are understaffed right now in their department, and everything's heaped onto her.
You bring up something though during the conversation, if I can move to a different topic that we talked about earlier today. The fund for walkways and
Paths and trails?
for, trails and paths.
Yep. 510. I think it's 510.
We've been talking about some paths that need to go in on our museum property. Is there any way to use any of those kind of funds?
Paths and trails for an ADA.
Paths and trails for ADA.
Yes, and actually, I think the last time we used it was for the fairgrounds for a path there. And that was a few years back. We do have 300,000. That being said, if we do draw that down, then we can't do a big project elsewhere. So maybe it's a good idea to put a bunch of projects out there to kind of look at them, because it's true. but it's ultimately up to the board. I haven't brought forth a list or recommended, but the board has projects, maybe we should list those. Because that's part of the discussion. We have very limited resource. I would suggest, if possible, we could do something similar to what we did with Desert Air for next year. We have a separated trail for 1.5 miles that's gonna be paid for by a grant. 85% paid for by a grant. Can we leverage that $300,000 to get some grants so that we can take that 300,000 and actually get maybe 1.5 million of work done? That would be one way to do it, because if we just go pay for trail, sorry.
I like that. So who did the grant, did they do it themselves? Pam? Desert Air?
No, I did.
Oh, you did the
but
grant,
in
okay.
consultation with Pam. Pam was actually very, very helpful. She's important with the communication. But the Desert Air grant for 42,000 of ours, the feds are paying, what was it, 290,000 as well. Together it's about $330,000. But there's using our local money to leverage a larger
I like
project.
that better than just depleting it.
Well, that's the thing I'm worried about. We have to be conscious of that. There's an opportunity cost, because we could just take it and say, you know what, let's just do some local work. But you can only get so much done with 300,000. There's only about 325,000 in there. So
I guess the request would be, we had somebody request this who was needing ADA accessibility. It was really tough moving around on the property there. And just thought, maybe if you see a grant come up, you keep it on your radar to utilize, maybe go after a grant that we could utilize there.
yes, and there is, we are working our way that way. You've heard of Safe Streets for All. We did receive that grant last year. What Safe Streets for All will lead to in this next year is some code adjustments for things like what's called complete streets. Have you heard of those grants? So there's grants that will come from Safe Streets for All from us. There is a whole bunch of grants in that area, but we don't have access to it yet because we have not implemented Safe Streets for All into our code. City of Moses Lake has, for example, they have a Safe Streets for All code element, and they have been going after grants in that area. And that you can use, that money is totally separate from we use STBG grants to do the separated trail for Desert Air.
Sorry, I was gonna turn it.
It's actually excellent question. So unfortunately, we're probably a year or two out before suddenly some options start opening up on the Safe Streets for All / Complete Streets grants, because they're actually related. You have to actually have these plans in place to even be able to, and codes adjustments in place to even go after those grants is the problem. We can't even apply for some of them right now. There's some that we might be able to, but we would be at the bottom of the list, so.
And that's being worked on now. We have a
Yes.
grant.
Code adjustments,
The Safe Streets for All.
The Safe Streets for All.
and you'll come forward with some recommendations for code adjustments.
But that's over this next year.
Yeah, I would just put it on your radar, because I think that could be it wouldn't be a big project, but it could make that whole facility more accessible to the those who have an injury or who are disabled.
So when you are approached in that manner, actually ask them to formally write it up, put their request in. It's right on our website, Public Works, it talks about a petition process. So they can request that, and staff will look at it and help make a recommendation. But the neat thing about that is it's not verbal, and that they're expressing exactly what they want, and then county staff has an opportunity to look at it, and they'll tell you, well, there's an opportunity cost, or if we wait 2 years, we might be able to get a grant for it. That way the staff can get an idea behind that. But it's listed, and when we get a list of these projects, we had another one that came in as well about Potato Hill and the possibility of a separated trail there. Great idea, absolutely. And we need to have those ideas in place and documented. We need to have a list of those, just like we do for the 6-year plan, transportation improvement plan, the STIP. Once you have those in place, even though you don't have grants or money for them yet, because you have it on the list, you can go after those. That's the thing that we need to do for paths and trails, which we haven't done at all. It's sitting there languishing really. So we have to spend some time working on it. And we are with the Safe Streets for All, and I'm really hopeful with what we're gonna get out of that. We're gonna get safe projects out of it, including things like that, the sidewalks as well.
Okay.
It's an excellent question, actually leads to a can of worms, but we're working on it, we're getting there.
I didn't talk.
What's that?
I said I didn't talk.
It's good stuff.
I'm on you all the time about that.
I know, it's fantastic projects. But we have been getting some paths projects out. Desert Air is the first one next year. But we noticed in your 6-year plan, you actually have another paths project that you approved, which was for down sand dunes to extend our road but have a separated trail as well in the sand dunes. So that, I think there was 2 phases to that project already in the 6-year plan in 29 and 30. So we do have paths in there, so it's not like we don't. But I think we do need to do
That
some
was
more
just a
planning.
comment, yeah, we needed to ask you that.
Some workshops this next year, some planning on that is a great idea. Get some active involvement.
Do the cities have paths and trails funds also?
City of Moses Lake, yes. They have, when I was there 3 years ago, we just got our Safe Streets for All and code adjustment put in, and they were going after grants right before I
Aren't
left.
you on the committee? You used to have a commissioner was sitting on it.
They have
No, they have a paths and trails committee.
And they have a plan too,
But
that goes back.
They
about a
set up a
decade.
time to meet with me and they never showed up.
Oh, because it's one of those, whoever is in District 2 usually sits on that.
Yeah,
That's what
they
it's
haven't
committee.
met, I don't think, in a long time.
Okay.
They do have a plan, and I had, at some point in the past, I had a copy of it. A lot of those projects have not come to pass.
Yeah, I just was curious. It'd be good for us to work with them. I know Levi had ambitious ideas.
And if our paths can connect into theirs, we can make,
You can maybe use double the money,
absolutely.
double the push.
It's a great idea. Some workshops and some planning this year, specifically for fund, I think it's 510 paths.
Any other questions?
Nope. Is it?
Okay.
All right, well, it's 2:26. We are in recess until 3 o'clock when we meet with Brett Hill from Public Defense. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon. It is 3 o'clock. We are here with Brett Hill for our monthly update. Welcome, Brett. Brett with Public
I don't think, we had the monthly update last week.
Yeah, this is an executive session.
No,
Oh, I just said anticipate. Okay, I am in error. It's cut off. Okay, sorry, Brett. It is not our monthly update. Let me look and see what it says on the agenda. It's an executive session.
yes, please.
Says anticipate executive session, RCW 4231.10.1F. Okay, so will it be the whole, you have
How long do you want?
25 minutes.
Yeah, max.
Okay, so we'll go into executive session from 3:01 to 3:25. Will any decisions need to be made after, just more of an update?
I don't know.
Okay, so,
Yeah, that'll be up to you, I guess.
RCW, let me just 42-1F would be personnel disciplinary matters is why we're going in. Okay, so 302 PM to 325. Okay. Caitlin, can you put us in executive session, please?
This is sort of on a human level. Yeah, I deal with people who have made a lot of mistakes. On a human level, I don't have a problem moving forward, figuring out how you move on. On this kind of a level, it's a little different thing. I'm kind of torn, so I would say put the best thing together that you can and bring it before us.
Okay.
But if it doesn't come till
January,
January,
it's
I'm
like
off
totally
early,
fine.
but-
Yeah, we'll be out of here. We'll be out of here probably snorkeling.
I don't wanna put anybody else on the hook, so.
Like I said, I've got 24 months.
And you'll
24 months.
you'll be seeing
Maybe.
a lot of renewals coming on, in the next week or two. I mean, this particular thing has kind of put me behind. And, but we have a lot, and I've talked to really everybody. And I just need to redraft some of the stuff based on the new caseload limits. So that we don't have to redraft them again based on what the Supreme Court decides. I'm trying to do percentages and change.
any idea when that's gonna come out?
No, I thought we'd have it for sure by now. But who knows? I think they're dragging their feet because they don't want to do it, but anyway.
Okay, well, thank you, Brett. Okay, it
Thank you.
is 3:26. We are in recess until 3:30, I believe. Oh, 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock certification of levies to the county assessor.
All right.
Want the door open?
Public hearing today.
Yeah, you can leave it open. I was totally confused today on what was going on. But I couldn't.
And as a voting member to represent us.
Good afternoon, it is 4 o'clock. We are here for, call it the correct thing, the certification of levies to the Grant County Assessor.
Who's not here? I assumed she would be here, but I guess as a refresher, each year, starting in October, the assessor's office sends out an email to all the taxing districts requesting their levy certification and resolution ordinance that the board passed today. So what happens is the assessor's office and the commissioner's office work together to get copies of all of the special purpose districts information. And the Department of Revenue has set the date to November 30th. So everyone's is due November 30th. The same exact date it's due back from you certifying it to the assessor. We have complained many, many years why the dates are the same exact day that they're due, but they're not changing it. Due to the holiday, they extended us the courtesy of making it today during our budget hearing. So that's why at the budget hearing, you signed the resolution for current expense and the road district. And all of the special purpose districts, cities, hospital, fire, port, mosquito, has to then send them here to you. Here's the binder. It's just the way the RCW reads is that it's due back to Missy the same day. So here is the spreadsheet. There are a few who have not sent them in as required. And per RCW, Missy will assess them at the same rate as 2024. So.
Do you have a list of who did not respond?
Yes, it's gonna be all these ones with the stars by them. And there's the.
So do we need to make a motion or something to approve these?
I think it would be.
Cooley Dam, Marlin, Port 4, which is, who's Port 4? Port 5. Okay, they must not. Hospital 5.
And I would really like to give a shout out to Rachel and to Caitlin. Caitlin has been learning all of the things that I have been doing, so she is jumping on and doing a great job. And thanks to Rachel for gathering all of this binder, and we put this one together, but Rachel has one as well.
So, Madam Chair, pursuant to the provisions of RCW 8452-070, I make a motion that the Board of Commissioners hereby acknowledges the receipt of the 2025 budgets and estimates as submitted by various taxing districts within Grant County, certifying the amounts to be raised by taxation on the assessed valuation of the property within each taxing district for the purpose of levying taxes. I further acknowledge that the county assessor has been provided with a copy of the budget and estimates as certified and filed by the respective taxing districts as listed on the attachment. I'll make that motion.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to accept the information submitted for the various taxing districts within Grant County. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The certification and acknowledgement has been approved, and that concludes this hearing.
And it's not a hearing, it's just a meeting.
This concludes this meeting.
Because it was mentioned a few times it's a hearing, but it's just a meeting.
So I'm like, should I give you my Okay, we're in recess until tomorrow at 8:30.